What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? Would you still chase the dream you once believed in with all your heart? The morning Emily Carter woke to the shrill buzz of her phone, she didn't expect the world to shift beneath her feet. At first, it was just a headline, buried under countless notifications: Elon Musk's Mars habitat tech to launch on Earth, pilot program to choose independent inventors. She blinked, half awake, rereading the words as the morning sun spilled through the blinds of her modest apartment above Main Street. Downstairs, the hum of her workshop called to her, the place where dreams clashed with reality, where prototype failures outnumbered successes 10-1. But this headline wasn't just news. It was a call. A spark. A door she thought had been locked long ago. Emily tossed the covers aside, adrenaline chasing sleep from her veins. She padded down to the workshop, her hands still stiff from the night before, and stared at the current project on her worktable, a rough housing unit embedded with soil recyclers, designed to function like a closed-loop biodome, mimicking part of the sustainable systems Musk's teams were rumored to be using on Mars. She had built it on a whim, chasing a hunch, fueled by whispers of tech forums and late-night Reddit leaks. It was half-finished and more than half faulty, but suddenly, it didn't feel like a pipe dream. She turned on the shop lights. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emily's father used to say, "No one's coming to save you. Build the damn thing yourself." He left before she turned 10. Still, his voice lived rent-free in her head, sometimes bitterly, sometimes as fuel. Her mother, Rosa, had raised her and her brother with little more than grit and gumption in a small Iowa town where innovation was something you saw on TV, not built in your backyard. Emily remembered digging through junkyards at 16, looking for scrap parts to build her first solar-powered fan. She remembered winning the county science fair and riding a wave of pride that lasted exactly one summer, until she blew a college scholarship because her prototype failed during the final presentation. That failure haunted her, a ghost that clung to her even now as she soldered wires with trembling hands, wondering if she was about to ruin another chance. She paced. Checked her email. The Musk Foundation's announcement was official. They were searching for off-grid applications of Mars tech, greenhouse units, air recycling mechanisms, water condensation systems, and were inviting independent inventors to apply for a trial. The program would choose 5 candidates. Submissions were due in 36 hours. She ran a hand through her tangled hair. 36 hours. No time to panic. No time to doubt. She had something no one else did, an unfiltered idea rooted in the same soil she hoped to save. A prototype that was messy, imperfect, but real. She spent the next day and a half fueled by caffeine, anxiety, and sheer determination. She barely ate, barely slept, soldering components, adjusting the biofeedback system, testing the solar inputs, then retesting. Somewhere around hour 28, the condensation unit failed. She screamed. Slammed a wrench onto the table. Her hands were shaking. She was tired. The same voice, the same old ghost, whispered that she was wasting her time. That this was just another road to nowhere. But another voice answered back, her mother's, gentle and firm. "Sweetheart, nobody gets it right the first time. Keep building. That's what you do." So she did. At the 34-hour mark, she hit upload on her submission. Her hands hovered over the keyboard as the spinning wheel of the progress bar taunted her. Then the confirmation arrived. Submission received. Thank you for participating in the Earth-Mars initiative. That night, she collapsed onto the couch, surrounded by half-empty Red Bull cans and the quiet hum of her machine still running. She didn't expect to be chosen. But a part of her, a deep, quiet part that still believed, hoped. The email came 4 days later. Congratulations, Emily Carter. You've been selected for Phase 1 of the Earth-Mars pilot. She read it 3 times, then screamed so loud her neighbor downstairs banged on the ceiling. The message included details about a trip to Los Angeles, a meeting with other selected candidates, and a preliminary test of their prototypes in a mock Mars terrain facility. She dropped to her knees on the cold workshop floor, heart pounding, vision blurring. Was this really happening? The next week moved in a blur. She borrowed money from her brother to buy a last-minute plane ticket. She packed her prototype into a reinforced crate, labeled every component, and tried not to throw up during the flight. The plane touched down in LA, and for the first time in years, Emily felt like she was stepping into a world where she didn't have to explain why she believed technology could save small towns just as easily as it could colonize planets. The Musk Center was everything she imagined: sleek glass walls, solar fields stretching into the distance, and labs buzzing with innovation. She met the other candidates. A former military engineer from Texas, a water purification specialist from Vermont, a teenage robotics prodigy from Oakland, and an urban farmer from Atlanta. They were all brilliant. And they all seemed more confident than she felt. On the 3rd day, they entered the simulation zone, a red dirt arena designed to mimic Martian terrain, complete with artificial atmosphere conditions. It was time to present. Emily's machine worked, mostly. The condensation system kicked in just enough to grow a few tiny sprouts in the hydrosoil. The audience, a mix of engineers and PR teams, clapped politely. Musk himself wasn't present, but his lead tech advisor nodded. Promising. But volatile. Still, it wasn't a no. That night, Emily sat alone in her hotel room, staring at the city lights, wondering if promising was enough. She checked her email for the 100th time. Nothing new. Just as she was about to close her laptop, a message came through: next phase begins Monday. Prepare to scale. That was it. No signature. No instructions. Just the push forward. Just like always. She exhaled. Smiled. Maybe it wasn't about waiting for someone to believe in you. Maybe it was about showing up, prototype in hand, ready to prove you belonged, even if you were scared out of your mind. Emily Carter, the girl from nowhere, had stepped into something far bigger than she imagined. And she wasn't about to back down now. Before the world started whispering her name next to Elon Musk's, before the media ever called her the backyard inventor who cracked Martian code, Emily Carter had only one claim to fame: she could fix anything with duct tape, a soldering iron, and a stubborn belief that broken things deserved another chance. It started in a town where everyone knew everyone, where dreams weren't encouraged so much as they were politely tolerated, then quietly set aside. She was 7 the first time she rewired a broken radio just to hear her mother sing along to Dolly Parton again. Rosa Carter had lost the light in her voice after Emily's father left, but that day, when the static cleared and the soft hum of music filled their kitchen, she smiled, tears catching in her lashes, and whispered, "You did that?" Emily never forgot it. Fixing things, making things, inventing, none of it was about glory or headlines. It was about giving someone back a moment they thought was lost. She built her first circuit board out of junk parts from a busted VCR when she was 10. By 12, she was selling DIY solar chargers to local farmers too stubborn to upgrade their tractors. Her teachers called her a genius. Her classmates called her weird. Her mother called her my miracle. She wore all 3 labels like armor. But there were cracks in the armor no one could see. When she got into MIT on a scholarship at 18, it felt like proof she belonged in the world of real science, not just county fairs and garage experiments. But genius didn't guarantee confidence. In a sea of polished, confident peers, Emily felt like a smudge on a blueprint. The turning point came during her sophomore year, when she was selected for a special Mars sustainability project under Dr. Franklin Jacobs, a leading environmental systems engineer. He was gruff, brilliant, and took no excuses. But he saw something in Emily others missed. A rare intuition, an instinctive grasp of system interactions that didn't come from books. He called it her gut wiring. For 6 months, she worked harder than ever, barely sleeping, testing a prototype designed to simulate regenerative soil systems. The goal was simple: use waste from a controlled environment to feed plant growth without needing Martian soil imports. The prototype was her baby. Her gamble. Her everything. And then it failed, spectacularly. On demonstration day, under the sterile lights of the lab, her system overheated, burned through 2 oxygen seals, and triggered a full evac drill. The project was halted. Her reputation tanked overnight. She didn't just lose the scholarship. She lost faith in herself. No one said it out loud, but she heard it in their eyes: she wasn't ready. She packed her things and went home. Most people didn't know she dropped out. She told friends she was working remotely, told her mom it was just a break. But the truth was uglier: she quit. For 2 years, she barely touched her tools. Until her brother Ben dragged her out of bed one morning and said, "You either build something or get a job at the gas station. I'm not watching you waste yourself." He didn't say it with malice. He said it because he remembered the girl who fixed radios and made their broken world a little brighter. So she built something small, a water condenser for a friend's greenhouse. Then she built a better version. Then another. Soon, she was knee-deep in scrap parts again, surrounded by late-night whiteboards and energy drinks, reclaiming the thing she thought she'd lost forever. She rented the space above the hardware store for cheap and turned it into a workshop. Locals started coming to her with problems: heating issues, irrigation failures, power outages. Emily solved them all with makeshift brilliance. Word spread. "That Carter girl's a wizard," they'd say. She laughed it off. But every fix stitched another thread into the belief that maybe she still had something to offer. Then came the whispers. Blogs. Forums. Quiet leaks about tech being tested on Mars, biomes, recyclers, oxygen loops. She read everything. Not because she wanted back into the big leagues, but because the ideas stirred something inside her she hadn't felt since MIT: wonder. Hope. A chance to make the world work better, starting in her own backyard. She began sketching blueprints late at night. Ideas flowed like they used to. Closed-loop systems that didn't need a Martian surface to thrive, systems that could help Earthbound communities right now. The irony wasn't lost on her. Everyone talked about Mars like it was the future. But Emily looked around her small town, saw rusted water towers and failing farmland, and thought, why not here first? That was the origin of the prototype she would later submit to Musk's foundation. It didn't come from ambition. It came from necessity. A quiet rebellion against being overlooked. It was built from parts no one else wanted and dreams she'd nearly buried. And it worked, kind of. Enough to prove a concept. Enough to earn her a plane ticket to Los Angeles and a seat at a table she never expected to reach again. When she stepped off that plane and into the blinding sun of Silicon Valley, her hands were still calloused, her jeans were still worn, and her confidence was still fragile. But she carried something the others didn't: scars. Not the kind you see. The kind that remind you who you are when everything else falls away. She spent her first 2 days at the Musk Center in awe. Not just of the technology, but of the energy, the hum of minds moving faster than speech, of people who believed problems were puzzles waiting to be solved. She didn't speak much. She listened. Watched. Took notes. On the third night, Dr. Jacobs walked into the test lab. She hadn't seen him in years. He looked older, more tired, but the fire in his eyes hadn't dimmed. He paused when he saw her, then smiled. "Still fixing the world, Carter?" She didn't know whether to hug him or apologize. He stepped closer, studied her machine, and nodded slowly. "Not bad. Still over-engineered, but you always did think 5 steps ahead." She waited for the reprimand. The lecture. Instead, he said, "I told them about you. After your system failed. I told them failure's part of the process. They didn't listen. But I never stopped believing you'd finish the work. Her throat tightened. She swallowed hard, nodded. Thank you. He put a hand on her shoulder. Don't waste the moment. Show them what grit looks like. That night, she ran her prototype through one last simulation. It still sputtered. Still moaned under pressure. But it held. Just long enough to grow life. She slept for 3 hours and woke up ready. Tomorrow, the real test would begin. She didn't know if she would pass. She didn't know if Musk would ever learn her name. But she knew this, she was no longer the girl who walked away. She was the woman who came back. And this time, she was staying. By the time Emily stepped onto the test floor the next morning, her palms were damp, her stomach was in knots, and the makeshift confidence she'd been building since the moment she got the acceptance email threatened to collapse under the weight of a single misstep. The simulation zone looked even more intimidating under daylight, if you could call the sterile LED glow that filled the underground Mars terrain facility daylight. The red dust had been engineered to match the Martian surface's chemical composition, complete with simulated low-pressure climate and controlled gravity compensation to mimic real conditions. It was part lab, part movie set, and part battleground. 5 zones were marked out for the inventors, each cordoned off by transparent shielding walls. Emily's was Zone 3. The others were already setting up, their movements confident, rehearsed, efficient. Her heart pounded as she opened the crate containing her prototype. The panels were scuffed from transport. The solar array was slightly bent at the edge. Her fingers worked fast, checking connections, resetting calibration, trying to hide the tremble in her hands. The lead coordinator, a tall woman with a shaved head and an intimidating clipboard, gave them 15 minutes. Then came the announcement over the intercom. Simulation begins in T-60 seconds. All candidates, stand clear of active modules. Emily wiped her hands on her jeans and stepped back. Her lungs felt tight. The walls seemed to close in as the countdown began. 59. 58. She didn't look at the other candidates. She didn't need to. She could feel their machines humming, purring with mechanical precision. Her own device let out a soft groan. Please, she whispered under her breath. Just work. Do what I built you to do. 20 seconds. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she heard her mother's voice again, calm, strong. You only lose when you stop trying. 5 seconds. She held her breath. The countdown hit 0. The simulation chamber whirred to life. Temperature dropped. Lighting shifted to simulate filtered sunlight on Mars. A low hum filled the room as the simulated environmental conditions activated. Then came the most critical moment, initialization. Her machine shuddered as it powered on. The solar unit opened its petal-like wings, drawing synthetic light into its core. The water condensing system hissed, struggling against dry Martian air, pulling moisture from almost nothing. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the core fan kicked in. The internal sensors lit up in a slow cascade of green. It was working. Not flawlessly. Not silently. But working. Emily's jaw clenched as she monitored the levels on the tablet in her hand. Temperature, stable. Humidity, rising. Internal air balance, within tolerance. The real test, though, came next, the plant module. Inside the sealed dome was a compact vertical grow system with fast-sprouting algae and microgreens embedded in nutrient gels. If the environment remained stable long enough, they would sprout within hours. If it failed, the plants would wither before they saw the light. Emily glanced at the clock. They had 6 hours to demonstrate viability. It would be the longest 6 hours of her life. The others seemed to be in similar states of half prayer, half performance. The man in Zone 1, Jackson, the ex-military engineer, was already giving his machine a second diagnostic pass with robotic precision. The teenage prodigy in Zone 5, Maya, stood with her arms folded, watching her sleek, cube-like recycler hum with almost arrogant perfection. Emily tried not to compare herself. Tried to focus on the screen. But her system had a quirk. A known bug. After about 90 minutes, the condensation tube sometimes clogged. It had something to do with the pressure calibration and the way her seals expanded under synthetic light. She hadn't solved it before the trip. She'd hoped it wouldn't come up. She was wrong. 92 minutes in, the warning light blinked red. Condensation failure, tube 2. She cursed under her breath. Looked at the coordinator. No outside help allowed. No resets. If she wanted to fix it, she had to go in manually, and that meant pausing the simulation in her zone, which would cost her points. Time slowed. Her mind raced. She grabbed the small repair toolkit she'd kept beside the display wall, signaled the zone tech for clearance, and waited for the green light to enter. As she stepped into the chamber, the dry recycled air bit at her skin. The machinery hissed around her like a living thing, angry and alive. She popped open the side panel of the condenser, saw the clog, thick mineral buildup, just as she feared, and set to work scraping and realigning the intake nozzle. It was hard to keep her hands steady. Her breath fogged the inside of her helmet visor. Her fingers slipped. The wrench clanged against the panel. She bit her lip. Focused. The moment she reconnected the intake, the machine hissed, then sputtered, then finally purred into a smoother hum. Back in the observation room, the light blinked from red to yellow, then green. Emily exhaled hard. She returned to the console, eyes scanning metrics. They were behind. The delay had thrown off the heat cycle. But the plants hadn't died. Not yet. 3 hours left. She refused to look at anyone else. This was her moment. Her machine. Her test. And then, 2 hours later, the miracle happened. The first green tendril pierced the surface of the gel. Just one. Tiny. Fragile. Barely visible. But real. Emily leaned closer, breath caught in her throat. The sensor recognized it a moment later. Photosynthetic activity detected. She blinked fast to stop the tears from coming. She looked up. Across the glass wall, one of the observers nodded. Another scribbled something down. The buzzer rang at hour 6. Simulation complete. All candidates were told to shut down systems and wait outside for deliberation. The next 2 hours were excruciating. They sat in a stark white waiting area, silent, sipping water and trying not to watch each other too closely. Emily didn't speak. Didn't move. She ran every detail through her mind, every mistake, every glitch, every second she could have done something better. Then the doors opened. The lead coordinator stepped out, flanked by 2 assistants. She held a tablet in her hand. Thank you for your participation. The Earth-Mars panel has made their initial assessments. You will receive full feedback within 24 hours. However, we do have preliminary results. 2 of you will move on to the next phase of development under Elon Musk's personal innovation lab. The rest of you will receive grants to continue independent research and support from our partner organizations. Emily's ears buzzed. Her pulse raced. The coordinator looked down at her tablet. Candidate 1, Maya Sterling, Zone 5. The teenager smiled, barely. Nodded. No surprise there. The girl was a machine. Candidate 2, the pause felt eternal. Emily Carter. Zone 3. Her vision swam. She blinked, unsure she'd heard right. The coordinator looked up. Congratulations. The others clapped. Some more genuinely than others. Maya glanced at her, eyes narrowing with interest. Jackson gave her a quiet nod of respect. Emily whispered, "Thank you," though her voice barely worked. The coordinator handed them folders. "Your next phase begins in 10 days. You'll be flown to an off-grid test site in Nevada. Pack light. Think big." The door closed behind her. Emily sat in stunned silence, folder in hand. She opened it slowly. Inside were pages of information, schedules, NDAs, maps. But what stood out most was a handwritten note on top. Just 3 words. "Don't stop building." No signature. But she knew the handwriting. Dr. Jacobs. She smiled through the tears. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like a failure pretending to be an innovator. She felt like exactly who she was meant to be. A woman who dared to keep going, no matter how often the world told her to quit. She looked at the others, then back down at her hands, scarred, tired, and still steady. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. It would be hotter, harder, and higher stakes than anything she'd faced before. But she was ready. Because she didn't just survive the Mars simulation. She proved that tech built for the stars could be reborn on Earth, in hands like hers, with dirt under the nails and a heart that never gave up. Emily Carter had never been to Nevada, and nothing in her Iowa upbringing prepared her for the sheer emptiness of the desert stretching for miles in every direction as the transport van rumbled down a long, sun-bleached road toward a facility that didn't exist on any public map. The van was unmarked, climate-controlled, and silent except for the occasional ping of a navigation system that offered no road names, just coordinates. Emily sat next to Maya Sterling, who hadn't spoken a word since they boarded, earbuds in, eyes fixed ahead, lost in her own genius. Across from them sat 2 Musk engineers and a man introduced only as Director Harlan, who held a clipboard and gave off the kind of vibe that made people sit up straighter. Emily kept her folder clutched tightly in her lap, filled with documents stamped with more red ink and legal jargon than she cared to think about. One phrase repeated over and over again: property of SpaceX, unauthorized disclosure prohibited. It made her uneasy, but not enough to turn back. They finally stopped near what looked like an abandoned airstrip. Nothing around for miles. Just rocks, heat waves, and the kind of stillness that made your thoughts feel too loud. Then the earth moved, literally. A section of the airstrip split open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a platform elevator slowly rising with mechanical precision. The van rolled onto it. Seconds later, they were sinking into the ground, the sky disappearing above them, swallowed by steel and shadow. The lab beneath the desert was something out of a science fiction movie. Dozens of levels deep, powered by solar arrays and geothermal cores, lined with rooms full of artificial ecosystems, robotics labs, 3D printers the size of school buses, and bioreactors glowing in soft blues and greens. Emily followed their guide in a stunned daze, passing doors labeled things like Atmospheric Interface Lab, Geoaquatic Integration Unit, and Lunar Resource Simulations. Every person they passed wore a badge, spoke in acronyms, and walked like they had somewhere important to be. It was overwhelming. Exciting. Terrifying. After a quick briefing, they were led to their individual pods, compact living quarters outfitted with sleeping bunks, a small workstation, and a digital interface connected to the lab's internal network. The room was clean, efficient, soulless. Emily dropped her bag and stared at the screen that immediately came to life with a greeting. "Welcome to Test Phase 2, Emily Carter. Please review your task protocol." She tapped the screen. A new file opened. Her project, codenamed TerraLoop, would undergo 4 weeks of rigorous environmental stress tests in 3 different artificial climate zones designed to simulate a wide range of Earth conditions: Arctic collapse, desertification, and urban toxicity. Each week, she'd be assigned a new task to adapt her machine to those conditions. Failure to meet performance thresholds would mean disqualification. The stakes were real. Emily exhaled and rolled up her sleeves. Week 1 began the next morning, and the test zone was brutal. Arctic collapse meant sub-zero temps, irregular light cycles, and high wind simulations. Her machine, designed for warmth, solar efficiency, and modest condensation, was not built for this. Day 1, the entire system froze. Condensation coils snapped. Solar panels failed to rotate properly in simulated frost. She spent 22 straight hours retrofitting the casing with insulation, scouring the materials lab for heat-reactive polymers, and reprogramming the sensor nodes to compensate for intermittent lighting. She slept for 3 hours, then worked another 19. No one coached her. No one offered help. Every inventor worked in isolation, their performance tracked by invisible algorithms and the occasional visit from the clipboard-carrying director Harlan, who watched with an unnerving stillness that reminded her of a hawk waiting to see if its prey could fly. On day 5, her adjusted design finally stabilized. The grow module triggered root formation. It wasn't a full success, but it wasn't failure either. She got a single line of feedback in her file that night: adaptive capacity, acceptable. Proceed. That one word, acceptable, felt like gold. Week 2 brought the desert simulation. The lab's desert wasn't just heat and dryness, it was designed to mimic future Sahara conditions. Intense radiation, low soil permeability, airborne sand particulates, and barely any humidity to condense. Emily stared at her machine, realizing just how under-equipped she was. Her original design was a Mars-inspired recycler that pulled water from air, not magic. The desert had no air moisture. She needed to adapt. Fast. She scoured the lab database and requested samples of polymer-based fog nets inspired by Namib beetles. She built a makeshift shield to redirect radiation and protect plant modules. She modified her solar intake to charge ultracapacitors during bursts of high solar energy, then redistribute that power slowly at night. On day 6, she finally got water to collect, just 40 milliliters. But the plant chamber stayed alive. Her file updated again. Resilience score, high. Engineering efficiency, moderate. Emotional stress tolerance, elevated. Emotional stress tolerance. She blinked. Were they monitoring her heart rate? Her cortisol? She wasn't sure whether to be impressed or disturbed. She read it again. Elevated. She chuckled. Yeah, she whispered to the screen. You think? Week 3 brought the urban toxicity simulation. This one hurt. The chamber mimicked a worst-case urban scenario: air pollution, chemical runoff, electromagnetic interference, and no natural sunlight. Her system completely shut down within the first 2 hours. The chemical exposure corroded her tubing. Her solar inputs were useless. The soil sensors stopped working. She sat in the chamber, surrounded by the ruins of her machine, feeling the old shame creep back in like a storm cloud. But instead of spiraling, she closed her eyes. Thought of her workshop. Her mother. Her brother. The neighbors who used her homemade solar water heater to get through last winter. She thought of the little green sprout in the Mars simulation, pushing through gel under impossible odds. She stood up. Ripped out the corroded tubing. Swapped an acid-resistant composite she begged off a chemical storage team. She rerouted the power source, pulling from internal kinetic batteries. She created a miniature filtered greenhouse within the greenhouse, layering recycled plastic over carbon scrubbing sheets, mimicking the insulation used in Antarctic shelters. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fast. But on day 7, the system powered on. The roots pushed through again. Her file updated that night. Innovation score, maximum. Mission alignment, green light. She stared at those words. Green light. She had passed all 3 environments. And now came the final challenge: integration. Week 4 required building a full-scale Earth-Mars deployment unit. Something scalable. Something that could go from prototype to production. She was allowed one assistant. When she entered the lab the next morning, Director Harlan was waiting beside Maya. "Your assistant," he said. Emily blinked. "Maya?" The teen shrugged. "I asked to work with you." Seemed smarter than pretending I know everything. Emily raised an eyebrow. "I thought you did." Maya cracked a rare smile. "Only on Tuesdays." They spent the next 5 days in a blur of collaboration neither of them expected. Maya's structural refinements turned Emily's clunky designs into streamlined models. Emily's environmental experience balanced Maya's digital systems. They argued. They laughed. They broke things and fixed them better. On the last day, they stood together in front of a sleek, mobile, climate-adaptive unit capable of producing 120 liters of clean water per day, enough food for a family of 4, and air filtration within acceptable urban standards. It wasn't perfect. But it worked. And it could be built for under $3,000 using existing supply chains. Emily stared at the machine, hands on her hips, grease on her cheek, heart pounding. "It's not Mars," she whispered. "It's better," Maya said. "It's Earth." That night, they got the final message. "You are invited to present your prototype at the Global Impact Forum in Austin, Texas. Elon Musk will attend personally." Emily sat on the edge of her cot, stunned. Then she laughed. A deep, long laugh that turned into tears. She was going home, not to Iowa yet, but to Earth. To Main Street. To the place where her journey had started, carrying something that could change lives. Not just for the future. But right now. Austin, Texas pulsed with a kind of nervous electricity the day Emily Carter landed. The Global Impact Forum had turned the city's tech corridor into a maze of billboards, drone cams, pop-up labs, and camera crews with laminated passes swinging from their necks like medals. She could see her breath fogging up the window of the shuttle as it rolled past flashing screens displaying phrases like, "Future-proof Earth," "Beyond Innovation," and, "From Red Planet to Blue Marble." It didn't feel real yet. Emily sat with her prototype's control module on her lap, white-knuckled fingers gripping the brushed steel like it was the only thing anchoring her to the ground. Maya sat beside her, dressed in a navy blue blazer over her usual black hoodie, earbuds out for once, tapping nervously on her phone. The two had barely spoken since the night they got the invitation. It wasn't awkward, it was just, overwhelming. Winning something that wasn't supposed to be winnable. Making something no one thought could come from people like them. They'd spent 4 days in a whirlwind of approvals, packaging, shipping, and sleepless revisions to get the system ready for public demo. Elon Musk himself was scheduled to tour the finalist exhibits personally before the televised keynote. The stakes weren't just high, they were astronomical. And beneath all that, Emily felt it creeping in again, doubt. She didn't belong here. She hadn't studied planetary systems at Stanford or interned at NASA. She wasn't a billionaire's protege or a startup wunderkind. She was just a girl from Iowa with a soldering iron and some second-hand stubbornness. But then the shuttle turned the corner and she saw the expo dome, 3 stories tall, shaped like a geodesic greenhouse, surrounded by thousands of people. And just inside, among the 30 finalists, was a display marked Terraloop. Her machine. Her name. Her future. They were ushered in through security, badges scanned, equipment checked, tempers short. By the time Emily reached her booth, her hands were shaking so hard she could barely get the system unpacked. Maya noticed and quietly started aligning the panels, rerouting cords, double-checking calibration. Emily let herself breathe. The room filled quickly. Governments. Tech execs. Engineers. Journalists. A wave of buzzing, humming, post-human chatter. By noon, 5 exhibits had already crashed or failed their opening demos. The pressure was suffocating. But Terraloop held. The screens glowed. The plant module lit up with soft artificial light. The atmospheric readers ticked up. Visitors came. Asked questions. Took notes. Then came a man in a charcoal suit, no visible badge, flanked by 2 handlers. His eyes scanned everything. He said nothing for a while, just watched the loop cycle complete: air, water, food, energy. Then he said, "What's the energy input to water output ratio at 60% cloud interference?" Emily blinked, rattled off the numbers, then added, "It performs better at night cycles if paired with the microthermal storage battery we developed last week." The man nodded once. Then smiled faintly. "Impressive." And walked away. 5 minutes later, someone whispered, that was Musk's lead advisor. The air felt thinner after that. The crowd thickened. A reporter from The Verge asked to film a demo. A deputy from the UN's climate resilience program asked for technical specs. Then someone handed her a note, no name, just a location: Green Room A, 3:15 p.m. At exactly 3:15, Emily stood outside Green Room A with Maya and the control unit in her arms. The door opened without a sound. Inside, the room was dimly lit, cool, and quiet. A few chairs. A display wall showing real-time data from every finalist project. And there, seated at the far end of the room, wearing black jeans, a gray tee, and a pair of beat-up sneakers, was Elon Musk. He didn't look up right away. Just kept watching the display. Then, almost like he'd heard her breath hitch, he turned and smiled. "Emily Carter. Iowa, right?" Her voice caught. "Yes, sir. Call me Elon." He gestured to a chair. "I've been watching your system since the desert simulation. You've done something here that none of the other finalists did." She sat, heart pounding. "What's that?" "You solved for dignity," he said, eyes fixed on her. "Most people solve for profit, scale, or performance. You designed something that assumes people will still want to live, not just survive. The design is personal. Human. That matters." Emily swallowed hard. "I didn't know how to build it any other way." He leaned back. "Good. Don't start now. We're launching a new initiative. Earth-Mars isn't just a project anymore. It's becoming a product line. Mass deployable. Local adaptive. We're building pilot communities next year, both on Earth and, eventually, on Mars. We want TerraLoop in the first batch." Emily blinked. "You mean, I want you on the core team," Elon said simply. "Full budget. Full autonomy. You'll oversee implementation with our planetary systems engineers and work directly with governments on Earth-based deployment." She stared at him, stunned. "Why me?" He smiled again. "Because when systems fail, you don't quit. You build. That's who I need." Maya, quiet until now, asked, "And me?" Elon turned. "You're on the list too. Don't act surprised. You're already rewriting half our internal optimization protocols." Maya gave a tiny grin. "Fair enough." He stood. "There's going to be media. Applause. Headlines. Enjoy it. But remember, the real work starts tomorrow. You've made something that can help people. Now it's time to prove it at scale." The meeting ended with a handshake that felt more like a lightning strike. They walked out in silence. The rest of the day was a blur. Speeches. Cameras. Musk on stage announcing the Earth-Mars Pioneer project. Emily's name on a massive screen. Applause so loud it drowned out her thoughts. And then came the final line from Musk's speech. One she'd carry with her forever: "The future isn't just about Mars. It's about bringing the lessons of space down to Earth, into our neighborhoods, our cities, our homes. Innovation doesn't begin on a rocket, it begins in a garage, on a farm, in a small town where someone refuses to accept broken as the end. That's where the next chapter begins. Emily stood backstage, heart thundering, blinking back tears. This was real. All of it. When the cameras faded and the lights went out, she and Maya returned to the hotel in a stunned silence. Later, as they sat on the balcony watching the Texas stars blink into view, Maya finally asked, "Do you ever wonder how many other people like us are out there? Inventing in sheds. Building in basements. Thinking they're nobodies?" Emily looked up at the sky, the weight of everything slowly sinking in. "Yeah. All the time." Maya nodded. "We should find them." Emily turned to her, a slow smile spreading across her face. "We will." And for the first time in a long, long time, Emily Carter felt something deeper than pride. Deeper than achievement. She felt peace. Because she wasn't just an outsider who made it in. She was part of the change now. The bridge between Mars and Main Street. And this was only the beginning. 6 weeks later, Emily Carter stood at the edge of a parched Nevada valley, her boots half buried in cracked red soil, watching a convoy of unmarked trucks unload Terraloop units by the dozen. The sky was wide and hot, the wind dry and relentless. This was the first Earth-based deployment site, part of a test community built in partnership with several climate-impacted states, designed to simulate near-future living conditions in resource-depleted regions. The pilot town was called Ridgeway, though it had no official population yet. Just foundations, frames, and her machines. It was all happening faster than she'd expected. After Austin, her name had been in every major tech outlet, her inbox flooded with offers, interviews, university lecture invites, but she'd turned most of them down. The real work wasn't on a stage. It was here, under the sun, where people would either survive or not based on what she'd built. Elon had delivered on his promise. She'd been assigned a small team. Half engineers, half logistics staff, and full authority over Terraloop's implementation. Maya was on site too, in charge of integration software and AI diagnostics. Emily had designed the machine, but Maya made it smarter. Together, they were about to find out if this thing could actually change lives. The people moving into Ridgeway weren't beta testers or Silicon Valley dreamers. They were real families, selected through a climate relocation program, farmers from Arizona who'd lost their water rights, a single mother from Detroit with 2 asthmatic kids, a retired couple from Northern California whose home had burned down for the second time in 4 years. They were exhausted. Skeptical. And entirely dependent on what Emily had created. The first few days were chaos. Installations ran behind. Power connections misfired. One of the water filters clogged after a sandstorm rolled through unexpectedly. Emily worked 16-hour shifts with her sleeves rolled up, troubleshooting alongside her team in the dust, sweat soaking through the back of her shirt. One night, she found herself sitting under a half-built canopy with a soldering tool in one hand and a busted thermal regulator in the other, blinking back tears of frustration. "You okay?" Maya's voice came from behind her, soft but not pitying. Emily shook her head. "No. I'm tired and I feel like I built a glorified swamp cooler held together with duct tape and desperation." Maya sat down next to her and took the regulator. "It's not duct tape," she said. "It's desperation with genius overlaid. Big difference." Emily gave a tired laugh. "It has to work. These people, this is all they've got." Maya nodded. "It will. You didn't build this to win an award. You built it to help people breathe and eat and stay. That kind of design doesn't break. It adapts." By the end of week 2, something started to shift. The power system stabilized. The atmospheric intake began producing enough water to run not just irrigation but limited household use. One of the Ridgeway kids, a wiry 10-year-old named Malcolm, planted tomatoes in one of the Terraloop grow modules just to see what would happen. They sprouted. Fast. By week 4, the community was holding its first shared meal. Pasta made with the greens from the unit's vertical trays, water chilled through the system's side condenser, laughter echoing across the dry hills like music. A reporter from the Atlantic came and interviewed Emily under a newly installed shade panel, asking if this felt like a victory. "No," she said plainly. "It feels like the first mile of a marathon. Victory's a long way off." That quote went viral. People responded to her honesty. To the dirt on her face, the cracked calluses on her fingers. She wasn't a mouthpiece. She was a maker. And Ridgway was working. Word spread. Another site was greenlit in southern New Mexico. Then another in Kenya. Musk's Earth-Mars division sent a request for her team to consult on habitat design for a future lunar dome. Emily smiled when she read it, then put it aside. She wasn't ready to leave Earth. Not yet. Because something was happening here. In Ridgway. The kind of thing no prototype could predict. Community. One night, after a long day of tweaking sensor modules and adjusting thermal feedback loops, Emily sat on the edge of a shipping crate watching the sun melt into the horizon. She saw the lights from the Terraloop unit blink on across the field, one by one, silent sentinels of survival. A voice called out behind her. "You ever get scared it'll stop working?" It was Malcolm's mother, Sonia. She'd been skeptical at first. Still was, in many ways. But she always said thank you. Always looked Emily in the eye. Every day, Emily admitted. But fear's part of it. Fear keeps you from getting lazy. Sonia nodded. It's not just the tech. It's what it means. You gave us a place to start over. Emily looked down at her boots. I didn't give you anything. I just built the box. You made it mean something. Sonia smiled. Still. You showed up. A lot of people don't. The next day, Emily got an alert on her terminal. Elon was inbound. No big announcement. No film crew. Just a private note, landing at 10:20 a.m. Want to walk the site with you. At exactly 10:20, a sleek electric rover pulled up near the central node. Musk stepped out, dressed in a plain black jacket and sunglasses. No ceremony. No speech. Just a man who wanted to see what had come of the vision. They walked the grounds in silence at first. Then he stopped beside one of the units and knelt to touch the soil. It was moist. Real moisture. Real life. You proved the model, he said. Emily nodded. Ridgway isn't perfect. But it works. He looked out across the valley, eyes narrowed. We're going to need thousands more of these. Climate migration is accelerating. Cities are aging faster than infrastructure can keep up. This isn't just innovation anymore. It's triage. Emily said nothing. Just let the word settle. Musk stood. You ready for scale? She hesitated. I'm ready for real. If that means scale, then yes. He smiled. Good answer. As he left, he handed her a folded slip of paper. Inside were GPS coordinates. No explanation. Just a date and time, 3 weeks from now. Emily stared at it for a long time. Didn't ask questions. Just tucked it into her tool belt and went back to work. Because Ridgway still needed her. Because she was building more than machines. She was building roots. And sometimes roots had to go deep before the world could see the bloom. 3 weeks after Elon Musk's unexpected visit to Ridgway, Emily Carter found herself aboard a sleek, silent jet cutting through the clouds toward the coordinates he'd sent, a remote location in Oregon's Cascade Range, where a new experiment awaited her. She sat beside Maya, the hum of the engines beneath them a constant reminder of how far she'd come from the farm fields of Iowa. The note had been cryptic, but the opportunity was unmistakable, Musk was unveiling the next phase of Earth-Mars, something bigger, more ambitious, and utterly transformational. As the plane descended over dense emerald forests and jagged volcanic peaks, Emily's mind raced with possibilities. What was waiting for them? Another prototype? A new community? Or something altogether different? Upon landing at a discreet airstrip, they were greeted by a small team of engineers clad in rugged gear, who quickly ushered them into an all-terrain vehicle. The ride was bumpy, twisting through ancient trees, crossing narrow creeks, and climbing steep inclines until they reached a clearing nestled among towering firs. There, standing proudly against the sky, was the Earth-Mars BioCube, a modular, self-sustaining habitat unlike anything Emily had seen before. It was a compact structure, roughly the size of a shipping container, but its surfaces shimmered with adaptive solar panels and bioengineered greenery that seemed to breathe in the sunlight. The design was sleek yet organic, blending technology and nature in a way that suggested a new paradigm for living off-grid in hostile environments. Elon was waiting for them, his signature casual confidence unmistakable even in the rugged setting. "Welcome to the future," he said, gesturing to the BioCube. "This is our next step, taking Terraloop's success and turning it into a home anyone can live in, anywhere on Earth or beyond." Emily ran her hands along the paneling, marveling at the smooth, almost living surface. "It's incredible. How does it work?" Elon smiled. "The BioCube is a fully integrated ecosystem. It manages energy, water, air, food, and waste in a closed loop using a combination of AI, advanced materials, and bioengineered organisms. It's designed to adapt to its environment and the needs of its inhabitants automatically." Maya chimed in, eyes gleaming. "It's like Terraloop, but scaled up and with more autonomy. The system can learn from environmental feedback and optimize resource allocation in real time." Elon nodded. "Exactly. We're calling it the Earth-Mars Habitat Module, or EMHM. The idea is to deploy these as scalable units to remote communities, disaster zones, and eventually, Mars colonies. The goal is to give people the ability to live sustainably without reliance on traditional infrastructure." Emily felt a surge of excitement mixed with the familiar weight of responsibility. She had come to understand that every new step in this journey meant more lives touched, and more challenges to overcome. Elon led them inside the BioCube. The interior was compact but inviting, with modular furniture made from recycled materials and walls embedded with sensors monitoring air quality, humidity, and temperature. A central console displayed real-time analytics, showing the status of energy reserves, water filtration cycles, and crop growth in hydroponic trays nestled in alcoves around the space. "This isn't just technology," Elon said, "it's a new way of thinking about how humans can coexist with the environment instead of exploiting it." Emily's mind raced with questions and ideas. How could this be adapted for urban areas? Could it help alleviate homelessness? What about integration with smart city infrastructure? The potential seemed limitless. Over the next several days, Emily and Maya worked side by side with the Earth-Mars engineers, calibrating the BioCube systems, running simulations, and stress-testing its adaptive AI algorithms. They tested the habitat under simulated power outages, extreme temperature shifts, and resource scarcity scenarios. Each time, the BioCube adjusted seamlessly, reallocating power to essential systems, rerouting water from condensation collectors, and optimizing crop yields through subtle changes in lighting and nutrient delivery. One evening, after a grueling 14-hour session, Emily stepped outside and looked up at the stars glittering through the tall pines. Elon joined her, hands in pockets, eyes reflecting constellations. "You're thinking about Mars, aren't you?" he said. She smiled tiredly. "It's hard not to. But right now, this feels more urgent. Earth needs solutions that work, here and now." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "Mars is a proving ground, but Earth is home. The lessons we learn here will save both." That night, Emily dreamed of vast red deserts dotted with shimmering BioCubes, communities thriving where none had before. But when she woke, she knew the real battle was still ahead, bringing this technology out of labs and pilot projects into the messy, unpredictable reality of everyday life. Back at Ridgeway, news of the BioCube arrival spread quickly. Residents gathered eagerly for demonstrations, their skepticism slowly replaced by cautious hope. Sonia, Malcolm's mother, was among the first to volunteer for a pilot unit in her backyard, seeing it as a chance to secure her family's future beyond the Terraloop farm. As installation crews began setting up the first Earth-based BioCubes, Emily received a call from Elon's office, a request to prepare a detailed proposal for nationwide rollout plans, complete with cost analysis, community impact assessments, and scalability studies. The scale was staggering. Millions of units. Dozens of ecosystems. Endless logistical hurdles. Emily spent the next week drafting and revising, fueled by cold coffee and the weight of possibility. Every number she crunched, every scenario she mapped, deepened her conviction that this wasn't just technology, it was hope. And hope, she realized, was a renewable resource. Then came the press conference. Under blazing studio lights, with cameras rolling and global audiences watching, Elon introduced the Earth-Mars Habitat Initiative. "We stand at a crossroads," he said, voice steady and compelling. "Climate change, urban overcrowding, and resource scarcity threaten our way of life. But we also have the tools to rewrite our future. This initiative is a commitment to build resilient, sustainable communities that empower people everywhere, whether on Earth, the Moon, or Mars." Emily watched from backstage, heart pounding as her vision became a beacon. She thought about the farmers in Ridgeway, the families uprooted by wildfires, the dreamers who built from scratch. This was for them. When the event ended, Elon found her amid the crowd. "Ready for the next phase?" he asked. "Always," she replied. As she looked out at the crowd, Emily felt the familiar mix of fear and exhilaration. The road ahead would be long and unpredictable. There would be setbacks, failures, and sacrifices. But now, she carried with her not just a machine, but a movement, a promise that technology could serve humanity's greatest needs without compromising the planet. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the Earth-Mars BioCube standing proudly among the trees. A symbol of possibility, resilience, and a future where Mars and Main Street could finally meet. The announcement of the Earth-Mars Habitat Initiative had unleashed a wave of excitement and skepticism in equal measure. Emily Carter found herself at the epicenter of a growing storm of public opinion, policymakers, and media scrutiny. The pressure was palpable as she juggled scaling the technology with managing expectations. Back in Ridgeway, the Terraloop units were humming steadily, and the first BioCube installations were underway, but the reality was more complex than the sleek presentations and hopeful headlines suggested. Problems arose that no simulation had prepared her for: the social dynamics within communities adapting to a new way of living, cultural resistance to unfamiliar technology, and unforeseen environmental challenges. One morning, Emily stood on the dirt road outside the community center, watching a tense town hall meeting through a window. Residents argued passionately, some fearing the technology would make them dependent, others worried about privacy and data security. Sonia, Malcolm's mother, defended the technology with a fierce determination born of survival, while a local elder voiced deep mistrust rooted in decades of displacement and broken promises. Emily felt the weight of history pressing down on her innovation. The machines alone could not solve human fears or heal old wounds. She realized that technology must be paired with empathy and dialogue to foster true resilience. That afternoon, Maya and Emily organized a series of community workshops, inviting residents to share their concerns, hopes, and ideas. They encouraged hands-on demonstrations, showing how the BioCube adapted to changing conditions and explaining the data protocols designed to protect privacy. Slowly, bridges formed between skepticism and curiosity, distrust and cautious optimism. One workshop attendee, a young man named Jason, confided that his family had lost their farm to drought but found renewed purpose helping install and maintain the units. His story echoed the transformative power of opportunity. As weeks passed, the Ridgeway experiment evolved from a test site to a living laboratory of human-technology interaction. Emily spent long days balancing technical fixes with community engagement, her role expanding beyond engineer to mediator and advocate. She often recalled her childhood in Iowa, where neighbors helped one another weather storms and harvests alike. She understood that technology without connection was hollow. Meanwhile, back at EarthMars headquarters, Elon Musk pushed the initiative forward with relentless energy. The upcoming national pilot program would deploy thousands of units across diverse climates and communities, from flood-prone Louisiana bayous to arid New Mexico mesas. Emily was named lead coordinator, tasked with tailoring solutions to local needs and cultures. She traveled extensively, immersing herself in the realities of each new location, learning from local leaders and adapting designs accordingly. One trip took her to New Orleans, where she witnessed firsthand the lingering scars of Hurricane Katrina. Families still lived in precarious conditions, reliant on patchwork infrastructure and emergency aid. Emily met with community organizers who emphasized that any technology solution had to empower residents, not override their agency. This insight deepened her commitment to participatory design. Back in Ridgeway, the first harvest from the BioCube's hydroponic gardens was celebrated with a community feast. Tables groaned under the weight of fresh greens, tomatoes, and herbs grown without soil or traditional irrigation. Children played under the soft glow of LED lights, their laughter a balm against years of displacement and hardship. Emily watched from the sidelines, heart swelling with bittersweet pride. She knew this was just the beginning. The media had begun dubbing Ridgeway, the future town, a moniker that brought both fame and scrutiny. Some critics called the project a Silicon Valley vanity or techno-utopian fantasy, accusing Elon and his team of overpromising. Others hailed it as a groundbreaking blueprint for survival. Emily learned to navigate this polarized landscape with grace and resilience, always returning to the core mission, building a sustainable future for real people. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Emily received a surprise visitor, Sonia, clutching a small bundle wrapped in cloth. Inside was a handmade quilt, each patch embroidered with symbols representing Ridgeway's journey: cracked earth, sprouting plants, a rising sun. "We wanted to thank you," Sonia said softly, "for believing in us when no one else did." Emily accepted the gift with tears in her eyes. "This belongs to all of us," she said. The quilt became a cherished symbol in the community center, a reminder that technology was only part of the story. As fall turned to winter, Emily faced new challenges. Supply chain disruptions slowed the delivery of critical components. Harsh weather tested the resilience of the BioCubes. And political shifts at the federal level threatened funding for the national pilot. Yet amidst these obstacles, hope persisted. Ridgeway's residents banded together to troubleshoot problems, sharing knowledge and labor in a spirit of solidarity. Emily found strength in these human connections, realizing that the future she was building was as much social as it was technological. One night, she sat by the fire in the community center with Maya and Jason, discussing next steps. "The tech is only half the battle," Jason said. "We need to build trust, culture, and purpose." Maya nodded. "Agreed. Maybe our next project should focus on education and storytelling, helping people see themselves as part of this new future." Emily smiled, feeling the familiar spark of inspiration. The path ahead was uncertain, but they would walk it together. As the firelight flickered across their faces, Emily reflected on how far they'd come, from a dusty test site to a thriving community on the edge of transformation. The journey from Mars to Main Street was no longer just a slogan. It was a living, breathing reality shaped by technology, humanity, and the unyielding spirit to survive and thrive. And in that moment, she knew. This was just the beginning. Emily Carter's world had expanded far beyond what she had imagined when she first started working on the TerraLoop project in Ridgeway. What began as a small experiment had turned into a nationwide movement to reshape the way communities survived climate change and resource scarcity. The Earth-Mars habitat modules were now deployed in dozens of locations, from the humid bayous of Louisiana to the windswept deserts of Arizona, and each site brought its own unique challenges and stories. But with scale came complexity and unforeseen obstacles. Emily found herself spending more time navigating bureaucratic hurdles, political pressures, and logistical puzzles than in the lab or in the field. One morning, she sat in a conference room in Washington, D.C., surrounded by government officials, industry leaders, and climate scientists. The stakes were high. Funding decisions for the next phase of the project would determine whether Earth-Mars could reach millions or be relegated to a niche experiment. The room was tense. Some officials questioned the cost-effectiveness of the technology, others worried about data privacy and the implications of widespread AI management of critical resources. Emily listened carefully, knowing that the success of the initiative hinged not just on innovation but on trust and collaboration. After the meeting, she stepped outside into the bustling streets, the noise of the city a stark contrast to the quiet forests and farmlands where she usually worked. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through messages from community leaders in Ridgeway and New Orleans, sharing updates and concerns. The human stories kept her grounded, the mother who used the BioCube's clean water system to care for her children's asthma, the elderly farmer who harvested his first crop in years, the young technician who found a new sense of purpose maintaining the habitat modules. That afternoon, Emily returned to her hotel room and opened her laptop to review the latest data from Ridgeway. The community was thriving, but not without problems. Sensor readings indicated that a recent heatwave had pushed the cooling systems to their limits. Residents reported intermittent power outages during peak hours. She realized that the technology needed to be more adaptable, more resilient to extreme conditions. Over the next days, Emily worked with her team remotely, developing software patches to improve the AI's predictive capabilities and optimize energy use. She coordinated with local technicians to implement physical upgrades, such as enhanced battery storage and improved ventilation. Meanwhile, social initiatives were underway to strengthen community bonds, educational programs, mental health support, and cooperative governance models that gave residents a voice in managing their habitats. One of the most rewarding moments came when a group of high school students in Ridgeway launched a community garden project using surplus nutrients from the BioCube's hydroponic systems. Their enthusiasm and creativity inspired Emily, reminding her that this was not just about survival but about cultivating hope and agency. As winter deepened, Emily prepared for a trip to New Mexico, where Earth-Mars planned to deploy a cluster of habitat modules in a remote indigenous community facing water scarcity and economic challenges. She met with tribal leaders, listened to their histories and concerns, and worked collaboratively to adapt the technology to honor cultural values and environmental stewardship. The experience reinforced her belief that technological innovation must be culturally sensitive and inclusive to be truly effective. Returning to Ridgeway, Emily found the community preparing for the annual Harvest Festival, a celebration of resilience and renewal. The event was a vibrant mix of music, food, and storytelling, with residents sharing their journeys and dreams for the future. Emily was invited to speak, and she chose to focus on the collective power of human ingenuity and compassion. "This isn't just my story," she told the crowd, or Elon's vision. "It's ours. Every one of you has brought something invaluable to this project, the courage to hope, the willingness to adapt, the determination to build something better. Together, we are proving that technology and humanity can grow stronger hand in hand." The applause was heartfelt, and Emily felt a deep sense of connection with the community that had become her home away from home. Yet even as successes multiplied, new challenges loomed. Climate change accelerated, political climates shifted, and funding cycles grew uncertain. Critics questioned whether high-tech solutions could keep pace with rapidly changing realities. Emily faced moments of doubt and exhaustion, questioning whether the scale of the problems might overwhelm even the best innovations. One evening, as she sat alone in her cabin on the Ridgeway outskirts, she opened a letter from Elon Musk. He wrote about his own struggles balancing vision and pragmatism, urging her to stay focused on the human element, the stories, relationships, and shared purpose that breathed life into technology. The words reignited her resolve. She realized that the future was not just about machines or data but about people, each with fears, hopes, and the capacity to create change. With renewed determination, Emily launched a new initiative to integrate community feedback more deeply into design processes, empowering residents to become co-creators rather than mere users of technology. She also advocated for partnerships with local governments, nonprofits, and educational institutions to build sustainable support networks around the habitats. Months later, during a visit to a coastal community battered by rising seas, Emily witnessed firsthand the transformative potential of Earth-Mars technology combined with grassroots resilience. Families who had once faced displacement were now rebuilding their lives, supported by habitats that harvested clean water from fog, generated energy from waves, and grew food year-round despite salty soil. She listened as elders shared stories of survival and renewal, and children dreamed of futures where their homes and cultures would thrive. As she prepared to leave, a local teacher handed her a drawing created by her students, bright, hopeful images of homes, nature, and technology working together. Emily held the drawing close, a reminder that the journey from Mars to Main Street was more than a project, it was a movement fueled by imagination, courage, and heart. Back at Ridgeway, the sun rose over the Terraloop fields, casting golden light on communities both old and new. Emily stood at the threshold of the BioCube, ready for whatever challenges and opportunities the future might bring. Because she knew this was only the beginning of a story that belonged to all of humanity, a story of resilience, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of a better tomorrow. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? As spring approached, Emily Carter found herself reflecting on how much the Earth-Mars initiative had evolved since those first days in Ridgeway. What began as a technical experiment had blossomed into a social movement, a network of communities across the country connected not just by technology but by shared purpose and resilience. Yet, with growth came complexity. Emily faced new challenges balancing innovation with inclusivity, scaling with sensitivity. The next phase of the project would test everything she had learned. The federal government had greenlit a pilot program to install Earth-Mars habitat modules in 5 major urban centers: Detroit, Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Seattle. Each city presented its own unique environmental and social landscape. In Detroit, abandoned neighborhoods struggled with economic decline and housing insecurity. Miami battled rising tides and hurricanes threatening millions of residents. Chicago faced air pollution and aging infrastructure. Los Angeles grappled with drought and wildfires. Seattle wrestled with homelessness and rapid population growth. Emily and her team had to adapt the BioCube technology to meet diverse needs, from providing affordable, sustainable housing units to integrating with existing city services and community organizations. The urban pilot demanded new partnerships with city governments, nonprofits, and grassroots leaders, requiring Emily to become as much a diplomat and advocate as an engineer. In Detroit, Emily toured neighborhoods scarred by decades of industrial decline and neglect. She met residents whose stories echoed loss and hope: a retired factory worker who now tended a community garden growing produce in recycled BioCube units, a young mother using clean water technology to care for her children, activists organizing to reclaim abandoned lots for sustainable housing. The challenge was enormous, but the spirit of the people inspired Emily. She worked closely with local leaders to design modular units that could fit into existing neighborhoods, provide clean energy, and offer flexible spaces for families and small businesses. In Miami, the stakes felt even higher. The city was already experiencing frequent flooding and devastating storms. Emily and her team collaborated with environmental scientists and emergency responders to build BioCube clusters that could serve as resilient shelters during hurricanes and supply clean water when infrastructure failed. The technology had to withstand saltwater corrosion, high winds, and power outages, demands that pushed the engineering team to innovate rapidly. In Chicago, the focus was on air quality and energy efficiency. Emily partnered with public health officials to integrate advanced air filtration systems into the habitats, creating safe indoor environments for vulnerable populations like children and the elderly. The biocubes were equipped with smart sensors that monitored pollution levels and adjusted ventilation in real time. The project also included educational programs in schools to raise awareness about environmental health and sustainability. Los Angeles presented a challenge of scale and complexity. The sprawling metropolis faced water scarcity, wildfire risk, and a large homeless population. Emily coordinated with city agencies to deploy biocube units as temporary shelters equipped with water recycling and solar power. The goal was to provide dignity and safety while connecting residents to social services and employment programs. The work was emotionally taxing but deeply rewarding. Seattle's pilot focused on integrating technology with the city's existing social support systems. The biocubes were designed as micro-communities, combining housing with spaces for mental health counseling, job training, and cultural events. Emily learned that technology alone couldn't solve homelessness or social isolation. It required a holistic approach involving empathy, trust, and long-term commitment. Throughout these deployments, Emily remained grounded by the human stories behind the data and designs. She remembered the courage of the Ridgeway farmers who had first believed in Terra Loop, the resilience of New Orleans families rebuilding after disaster, the hope blossoming in the deserts of New Mexico. She carried these stories with her as a compass, reminding her that technology was a tool, not a panacea. At Earth-Mars headquarters, Elon Musk continued to push the boundaries of possibility. He unveiled plans for integrating neural interface technology with habitat modules, allowing residents to interact seamlessly with AI systems and customize environments through thought and emotion. The vision was breathtaking but controversial, raising ethical questions about privacy and autonomy. Emily found herself mediating between visionary ambition and practical reality, ensuring that innovations respected individual rights and community values. Late one night, after a particularly grueling day negotiating with city officials in Los Angeles, Emily sat on the balcony of her hotel, gazing at the stars. She thought about the journey ahead, the cities yet to be reached, the technologies yet to be developed, the lives yet to be touched. She knew there would be setbacks, resistance, and hard choices, but also moments of triumph and transformation. She reached for her phone and opened a message from Sonia in Ridgeway: "The garden is blooming again. We're stronger than ever. Thank you for believing." Emily smiled and typed back, "Together, we're building the future. One home at a time." As dawn broke over the city, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road from Mars to Main Street was long and winding, but it was a journey worth taking, for every person, every community, every dream of a better tomorrow. The success of Earth-Mars's urban pilot programs began attracting attention beyond the usual circles of tech enthusiasts and environmentalists. Emily Carter found herself increasingly in the public eye, invited to speak at conferences, meet with policymakers, and appear on media outlets eager to highlight stories of innovation and resilience. Yet, with visibility came scrutiny. Critics questioned whether the ambitious project could truly scale without losing its human touch, or if it was simply another Silicon Valley dream disconnected from the messy realities of urban life. Emily welcomed the challenge, knowing that transparency and open dialogue were essential to building trust. She committed to sharing both triumphs and setbacks, hoping to inspire a broader conversation about the role of technology in shaping the future. One pivotal moment came during a panel discussion at a major environmental summit in New York City. Emily shared the story of Ridgeway's transformation, the integration of biocubes in Detroit's struggling neighborhoods, and the resilience-building efforts in Miami. She emphasized the importance of collaboration between engineers, communities, and policymakers. Afterward, a young woman approached Emily with a question: "How do you ensure that the people who live in these habitats have a say in how they're managed?" The question struck a chord. Emily explained Earth-Mars's commitment to participatory design, where residents co-create solutions alongside engineers and decision-makers. She spoke about workshops, advisory councils, and ongoing feedback mechanisms that fostered ownership and empowerment. The woman nodded thoughtfully and shared her own experiences working with marginalized communities. Their conversation planted seeds for a new initiative, an Earth-Mars Community Fellowship program aimed at training local leaders to become technology ambassadors and advocates. Back at Earth-Mars headquarters, Emily dove into developing the fellowship program, collaborating with educators, social workers, and technologists. The goal was to equip community members with skills in technology management, data literacy, and advocacy, enabling them to bridge gaps between innovation and lived experience. In Detroit, the first cohort of fellows was selected from a diverse pool of applicants, teachers, activists, young entrepreneurs, and elders with deep community roots. Emily traveled to the city to meet them and witness the pilot's impact firsthand. The fellows shared stories of personal transformation, how understanding the BioCube systems empowered them to teach others, how the program sparked new initiatives like urban farms and renewable energy co-ops. Emily was moved by their passion and resilience. Meanwhile, challenges persisted. Some residents resisted changes, fearing displacement or loss of cultural identity. Technical glitches and supply delays tested patience. Funding fluctuations forced difficult decisions about resource allocation. Emily learned that success was not linear but a process of continual adaptation, listening, and rebuilding trust. In Miami, the community fellowship took on a different form. Fellows worked closely with emergency response teams to integrate Earth-Mars habitats into disaster preparedness plans. They organized neighborhood training sessions on storm readiness and developed communication networks using the technology's AI interfaces. Their efforts saved lives during the next hurricane season, reinforcing the vital role of local knowledge combined with advanced technology. Emily realized that the fellowship program was not just about technology adoption but about nurturing leadership and resilience from within communities. As word spread, other cities expressed interest in launching similar initiatives. Earth-Mars partnered with universities and nonprofits to develop training curricula and certification programs, creating a growing network of empowered community leaders. Throughout this expansion, Emily remained vigilant about ethical considerations. She led efforts to establish transparent data governance policies, ensuring residents controlled access to their information and that AI systems operated with fairness and accountability. The neural interface technology Elon proposed was subject to rigorous review, with community input shaping guidelines to protect autonomy and privacy. One afternoon, Emily received a call from a friend in Ridgeway. The community was preparing to host a cultural festival celebrating their journey, a milestone symbolizing the fusion of tradition and innovation. Emily eagerly accepted the invitation, viewing it as an opportunity to reconnect with the people who had inspired her from the start. At the festival, she walked among familiar faces, now flourishing with renewed hope and dignity. The event was vibrant with music, dance, and storytelling. Residents shared memories of hardship and triumph, illustrating how technology had become woven into the fabric of daily life. Emily listened as elders recounted how the BioCube provided fresh water during droughts, children described learning to code AI systems, and families expressed gratitude for safe, sustainable homes. The festival underscored the essential truth that technology was not a magic bullet but a partner in a broader human story, one of community, identity, and perseverance. That night, as Emily sat by the fire with Sonia and Maya, they discussed the future. "We've come so far," Sonia said, her voice steady with pride. "But there's still work to do, making sure everyone has access, that no one gets left behind." Maya nodded. "And continuing to listen. That's how we grow." Emily felt a profound sense of purpose and belonging. The journey from Mars to Main Street was more than innovation, it was a shared voyage toward a more just and sustainable world. As the festival lights dimmed and stars blanketed the sky, Emily knew that the path ahead would require courage, compassion, and unwavering commitment. But she also knew that together, they could shape a future where technology amplified humanity's best qualities, turning challenges into opportunities and dreams into reality. The momentum of Earth-Mars's expansion accelerated rapidly, and Emily Carter found herself at the heart of a movement that was reshaping the very notion of community in America. With urban and rural pilots flourishing, the next challenge was international collaboration. Governments and organizations worldwide reached out, eager to learn from the Earth-Mars model and adapt it to their own unique challenges. Emily was invited to participate in a global summit on sustainable development held in Geneva. The gathering brought together leaders from every continent, scientists, policymakers, indigenous representatives, and grassroots activists, united by a shared urgency to confront climate change and social inequality. Emily presented Earth-Mars's journey, from the humble beginnings in Ridgeway to the sprawling networks of habitats in major American cities. She spoke about the fusion of advanced technology with deep community engagement, emphasizing the importance of local knowledge and empowerment. Her presentation sparked lively discussions about replicability, ethics, and cultural adaptation. Over the course of the summit, Emily engaged in numerous dialogues that challenged her assumptions and expanded her understanding. She met a group of Maasai leaders from Kenya who were exploring solar-powered water systems to support pastoral communities, indigenous activists from the Amazon advocating for technology that preserved biodiversity while supporting sustainable livelihoods, and urban planners from Copenhagen working on climate-resilient infrastructure that prioritized social equity. These encounters highlighted the diversity of challenges faced globally, but also the shared human values that could drive collaborative solutions. Inspired, Emily proposed a new initiative, Earth-Mars Global Connect, a platform to facilitate knowledge exchange, co-design, and capacity building across communities worldwide. The idea was to create a decentralized network where innovations could be shared and adapted, respecting cultural contexts and environmental realities. Upon returning to the U.S., Emily mobilized her team to develop the digital infrastructure and partnerships needed to launch Global Connect. The platform integrated AI-powered translation, interactive mapping, and virtual reality tools to enable immersive, cross-cultural collaboration. Back in Ridgeway, Sonia and Maya helped pilot the program locally, connecting their community with counterparts in South America, Asia, and Africa. Through virtual meetings, workshops, and joint projects, participants shared strategies for managing water scarcity, building sustainable housing, and fostering social cohesion. The exchange sparked fresh ideas and deepened mutual respect. However, as Earth-Mars's global footprint expanded, so did the complexity of managing competing interests and expectations. Emily grappled with the challenges of balancing innovation with cultural sensitivity, ensuring equitable access, and navigating geopolitical tensions. The technology's potential for positive impact was immense, but so were the risks of misuse or unintended consequences. She established an advisory council composed of diverse voices, including ethicists, human rights advocates, indigenous leaders, and technologists, to guide decision-making and maintain accountability. At home, Emily remained deeply connected to the communities where Earth-Mars first took root. She traveled frequently to Ridgeway and Detroit, witnessing how the technology continued to evolve alongside social initiatives. In Detroit, a new cooperative had emerged, led by Earth-Mars fellows who used their skills to launch renewable energy projects and small businesses. In Ridgeway, the community garden had blossomed into a regional hub for education and food security, supported by a network of BioCube microfarms. The lived experience of these communities grounded Emily's vision and reminded her that technology alone was not enough. She saw the power of trust, collaboration, and cultural resilience as the true drivers of change. One evening, while reviewing data from the Global Connect platform, Emily received a message from an unexpected source, a young engineer in South Korea who had adapted the BioCube technology to create modular units that could withstand frequent typhoons and provide emergency shelter for displaced families. Her message was filled with gratitude and hope, describing how the technology was saving lives and rebuilding communities. The connection felt like a moment of profound affirmation, proof that the dream that began with Elon Musk's vision and a small team in America was blossoming into a global movement for survival and renewal. Yet, Emily also faced the personal toll of her journey. Years of relentless work, travel, and negotiation weighed heavily on her. She struggled with moments of loneliness and burnout, questioning how to sustain her passion and effectiveness over the long haul. A chance encounter with a local artist in Geneva helped her rediscover balance. The artist's work, a series of vibrant murals depicting human connection, nature, and technology intertwined, reminded Emily of the beauty and complexity of the world she was striving to protect. Inspired, she began dedicating time to creative pursuits and mindfulness practices, encouraging her team and communities to do the same. The journey from Mars to Main Street, and now to the world stage, was not just a technological or social experiment but a deeply human one. It demanded patience, empathy, and an openness to learn from failure as much as from success. As Earth-Mars Global Connect gained traction, Emily saw the emergence of a new generation of leaders, young people from diverse backgrounds who were harnessing technology with wisdom and heart. Their energy and creativity offered hope for the future. In a moment of reflection, Emily realized that the real transformation was happening not in labs or boardrooms but in the hearts and minds of people who dared to imagine a better world. The story that began with a question, "What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side?" was unfolding into an answer, that through connection, courage, and innovation, humanity could not only survive but thrive. As she prepared to address a global assembly of Earth-Mars partners, Emily felt a surge of optimism. The road ahead would be long and uncertain, but the journey was no longer hers alone. It belonged to communities from Main Street to Mars and every place in between. Together, they were crafting a future where technology served life, culture, and the planet, a future worth fighting for and building every day. The story of Earth-Mars had reached a pivotal moment as Emily Carter prepared to unveil the next generation of habitat technology, a revolutionary integration of AI, sustainable materials, and human-centric design meant to redefine daily living across America. The new models, called LifePods, were compact, energy-neutral dwellings capable of adapting to residents' needs in real time, anticipating comfort, health, and even emotional well-being. Emily's team had spent months perfecting the LifePod's neural interface, allowing occupants to customize environments simply by thought and feeling, bridging the gap between technology and human experience. As the launch date approached, anticipation buzzed through Earth-Mars headquarters and partner communities alike. The pilot program was set to begin in San Antonio, Texas, a city grappling with rapid population growth, housing shortages, and climate stressors like extreme heat and drought. Emily and her team collaborated closely with local officials and residents to tailor LifePods to these challenges, incorporating advanced cooling systems powered by solar glass, water recycling features, and AI-driven health monitoring that could alert medical professionals in emergencies. On the morning of the launch, a crowd gathered at a community center where the first cluster of LifePods stood gleaming in the Texas sun, a fusion of sleek design and rugged resilience. Emily addressed the assembled residents, officials, and media with a message of hope and empowerment. "This technology is not about replacing community," she said, "but about enhancing it, helping each of us live healthier, happier, and more connected lives, no matter the challenges we face." The unveiling was met with cautious optimism and lively questions. Residents wondered how the AI would respect privacy, whether maintenance would be affordable, and how the technology would affect neighborhood dynamics. Emily listened carefully, engaging in honest dialogue that reinforced Earth-Mars's commitment to transparency and partnership. The initial weeks brought a mix of excitement and adjustment as residents settled into LifePods. Many marveled at how the pods adapted lighting, temperature, and air quality automatically, responding to individual preferences. The neural interface allowed users to easily communicate with the pod's AI assistant, which provided reminders for hydration, medication, and energy use. Children explored the educational applications, using augmented reality to learn about sustainability and science in immersive ways. Yet, challenges emerged. Some older residents struggled with the interface, prompting Earth-Mars to implement training sessions and develop simplified controls. Occasional software glitches required rapid response from engineers, who worked closely with users to resolve issues. Concerns about data security surfaced, leading to enhanced encryption measures and community forums to discuss ethical safeguards. Meanwhile, LifePods began transforming the physical landscape of neighborhoods. Clusters of pods created flexible communal spaces where neighbors gathered for social events, shared gardens, and cooperative projects. The technology fostered a renewed sense of belonging and mutual support in a city that had often felt fragmented. As the pilot progressed, Emily's team collected rich data on energy savings, health outcomes, and social connectivity. Preliminary results were promising: reduced utility costs, improved respiratory health, and increased participation in community activities. The success in San Antonio attracted interest from other cities and rural areas, setting the stage for rapid expansion. But the launch also sparked broader societal debates about the role of AI and automation in everyday life. Critics warned of over-reliance on technology, potential job displacement, and erosion of human agency. Emily engaged these concerns openly, emphasizing the importance of designing technology that empowered rather than replaced people, and the need for policies that ensured equitable access and job retraining. In response, EarthMars partnered with local organizations to develop workforce development programs that prepared residents for new roles in maintaining and innovating within the LifePod ecosystem. As LifePods became more widespread, stories emerged illustrating their profound impact. A single mother named Carla credited the pod's health monitoring features with early detection of her son's asthma attacks, enabling timely intervention. An elderly veteran, once isolated, found companionship through the pod's social networking platform and neighborhood gatherings. A young entrepreneur launched a green business incubated in a LifePod community hub. For Emily, these stories reaffirmed her belief that technology, when guided by empathy and purpose, could transform not only lives but entire communities. Yet, the journey was far from over. The scaling of LifePods required constant innovation and vigilance. Supply chain disruptions during a global materials shortage forced the team to explore alternative sustainable resources and local manufacturing. Ethical questions about neural interface data and AI decision-making sparked ongoing dialogues with ethicists, legislators, and the public. Emily navigated these complexities with determination and humility, always prioritizing the voices of those most affected. The broader cultural impact of LifePods also began to surface. Artists, writers, and filmmakers found inspiration in the new living spaces and the stories unfolding within them, contributing to a vibrant cultural dialogue about technology and humanity. Educational institutions incorporated LifePod technologies into curricula, preparing future generations to live and work in this new environment. As the first year of LifePods in San Antonio drew to a close, Emily reflected on how far EarthMars had come from its origins as a Mars colonization initiative. The project had evolved into a beacon of hope and possibility on Earth, demonstrating that cutting-edge technology could serve human needs in intimate, transformative ways. At a celebratory gathering with residents, team members, and partners, Emily shared a heartfelt message: LifePods are more than structures. They are living, breathing spaces that respond to our needs and dreams. Together, we are creating a future where technology helps us live not just longer, but fuller lives, rooted in connection, health, and hope. The applause was thunderous, but Emily knew the true work lay ahead, in continuing to listen, adapt, and co-create with communities to ensure that technology remained a tool for liberation rather than limitation. As night fell over San Antonio, LifePods glowed softly, their lights pulsing gently with the rhythms of life within. Emily gazed at them with pride and resolve, ready to carry this vision forward, to transform main streets across America and, perhaps one day, across the world. The journey from Mars to Main Street was no longer a distant dream, it was a living reality, shaped by the hands and hearts of people who believed that technology and humanity could rise together. As LifePods began to take root in San Antonio, the ripple effects extended beyond the immediate community, sparking a fresh wave of innovation and inspiring conversations about what it truly meant to live well in the 21st century. Emily Carter and her team understood that technology was only part of the equation. Equally vital was the social fabric that wove people together into thriving, resilient communities. One of the early challenges was integrating the LifePods into existing neighborhoods without displacing longtime residents or eroding the unique character of each locale. In response, EarthMars collaborated with sociologists, urban planners, and local leaders to develop an inclusive model emphasizing cultural preservation and participatory design. Residents were invited to co-create public spaces adjacent to life pod clusters, gardens, art installations, gathering spots, that reflected their histories, traditions, and aspirations. This approach fostered a sense of ownership and pride, transforming what might have felt like technology imposition into a shared act of renewal. In Austin, Texas, the model took on new dimensions as life pods were deployed within mixed-income neighborhoods struggling with gentrification. Here, EarthMars partnered with affordable housing advocates to ensure equitable access and prevent displacement. Community workshops focused on educating residents about the technology and gathering feedback to tailor the pods to diverse needs. One standout resident was Javier, a local musician and father of 3, who initially viewed the life pods with skepticism. Over time, Javier discovered how the pod's adaptive acoustics could enhance his home studio, and how the environmental controls helped his children manage allergies exacerbated by urban pollution. His transformation from skeptic to advocate illustrated the delicate balance of addressing concerns while demonstrating tangible benefits. Meanwhile, the integration of life pods into school environments opened exciting new possibilities. In Dallas, a pilot program placed life pods on school campuses as flexible learning environments and wellness centers. These pods provided quiet, climate-controlled spaces for students with sensory sensitivities or mental health needs, as well as interactive classrooms that adapted to different teaching styles and subjects. Educators reported improved student engagement and well-being, noting that the technology allowed more personalized and inclusive education. Emily saw this as a breakthrough moment, reinforcing the idea that technology must serve diverse human experiences rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. As life pods multiplied, EarthMars faced logistical challenges that required creative problem-solving. Supply chain disruptions due to geopolitical tensions and material shortages tested the team's resilience. To mitigate risks, EarthMars accelerated efforts to localize production, partnering with regional manufacturers and exploring sustainable material innovations like mycelium-based insulation and recycled composites. This localization not only reduced environmental impact but also created jobs and strengthened community economies. On the technological front, the AI systems embedded in life pods underwent continual refinement. Feedback loops between residents and engineers helped the AI better anticipate user needs while respecting boundaries. Privacy remained paramount, with robust encryption and transparent policies ensuring that personal data was owned and controlled by residents. These policies became a model for ethical AI deployment in smart homes nationwide. Public discourse around AI ethics intensified as life pods gained prominence. Debates surfaced in media and policymaking circles about surveillance risks, algorithmic bias, and the potential for technology to exacerbate social inequalities. Emily engaged actively in these conversations, advocating for inclusive governance structures that included diverse voices, particularly those from historically marginalized communities. She championed the idea that technology should amplify justice and dignity, not undermine them. This commitment led EarthMars to establish a community ethics board composed of residents, ethicists, technologists, and civil rights advocates to oversee ongoing AI development and deployment. Their work ensured accountability and helped build public trust. On a more personal level, Emily continued to nurture the bonds formed in Ridgeway and Detroit, frequently visiting these foundational communities to celebrate progress and gather insights. She found that despite geographic distances, shared values and stories created a powerful network of mutual support. In Ridgeway, Maya and Sonia had become leaders in the Community Fellowship Program, mentoring new cohorts and spearheading local initiatives like urban beekeeping and youth tech camps. Their success demonstrated the enduring power of grassroots leadership in driving sustainable change. Emily's own journey was marked by moments of introspection and growth. The demands of leadership sometimes felt overwhelming, but she found solace in simple rituals, morning runs, journaling, and connecting with family and friends. She also embraced vulnerability, sharing her struggles and doubts publicly to destigmatize mental health challenges among leaders. This openness deepened her relationships and inspired others to prioritize well-being amid change. The cultural landscape shifted as well. Artists, writers, and filmmakers drew inspiration from LifePods and their communities, producing works that explored the interplay of technology, identity, and environment. In New Orleans, a collective of muralists created vibrant street art that celebrated resilience and innovation, integrating augmented reality experiences accessible through LifePod interfaces. These cultural expressions enriched public spaces and strengthened communal bonds. Educational institutions nationwide began integrating LifePod technology and sustainable design principles into curricula, preparing a new generation equipped to navigate a world where technology and humanity are deeply intertwined. Universities partnered with Earth-Mars on research and internships, fostering innovation and ethical leadership. Meanwhile, policy developments reflected the shifting landscape. Several states passed legislation incentivizing sustainable housing technologies and establishing standards for AI transparency and data privacy in residential contexts. These policies aligned with Earth-Mars's mission and created a more supportive environment for scaling innovations. Yet, the road ahead remained challenging. Climate change impacts continued to intensify, economic disparities persisted, and social tensions sometimes flared around rapid technological shifts. Emily and her team recognized that Earth-Mars's work was part of a larger societal transformation requiring patience, collaboration, and humility. In response, Earth-Mars deepened its partnerships with community organizations, faith groups, labor unions, and civic leaders to build broad coalitions committed to inclusive progress. These alliances facilitated dialogue, conflict resolution, and shared problem-solving, anchoring technological innovation within human values. At a national conference on sustainable futures, Emily delivered a keynote address reflecting on the journey thus far. She emphasized that technology was a powerful tool but not an end in itself. Our work is about people, she said. It's about dignity, opportunity, and the courage to imagine better lives for ourselves and generations to come. The audience responded with standing ovations and renewed commitment. As Earth-Mars prepared to expand LifePods to new regions, rural Appalachia, Native American reservations, and post-industrial cities, the team remained vigilant about tailoring approaches to local contexts and centering community voices. The ethos of co-creation guided every step. Late one evening, Emily sat in a LifePod prototype installed at headquarters, the ambient lighting shifting softly with her mood. She reflected on the path from a Mars colonization project to a movement transforming Main Street America and beyond. The journey had been marked by uncertainty, setbacks, and breakthroughs, but above all, by the power of human connection. She knew challenges lay ahead, but also the promise of a future where technology and humanity thrive together. The LifePods glowed gently around her, silent witnesses to the unfolding story of resilience, hope, and the enduring quest to build a better world. The expansion of LifePods into rural Appalachia marked a bold new chapter in Earth-Mars's mission, testing the adaptability of Elon Musk's latest technology against some of America's most persistent social and economic challenges. Appalachia had long struggled with poverty, limited infrastructure, and environmental degradation due to coal mining, making it an ideal proving ground for a technology that promised sustainability, self-sufficiency, and community revitalization. Emily Carter and her team recognized that success in this region would require deep listening and humility, as well as collaboration with local leaders and residents who knew their land and culture intimately. The first step was establishing trust. Emily spent weeks traveling through small towns and mountain communities, attending church gatherings, farmers' markets, and local council meetings. She listened to stories of hardship, resilience, and hope. She met coal miners facing job losses, young people eager to build futures without leaving home, and elders committed to preserving heritage. These conversations shaped Earth-Mars's approach. LifePods needed to be not just technologically advanced, but culturally resonant and accessible. The design team incorporated traditional Appalachian architectural elements into the pod's exteriors and crafted interfaces that honored local dialects and storytelling traditions. Renewable energy systems were adapted to harness the abundant forest biomass alongside solar and wind. Importantly, the initiative emphasized job creation through local manufacturing and maintenance, blending high-tech innovation with hands-on craftsmanship. At a community gathering in Whitesburg, Kentucky, Emily unveiled the first cluster of life pods tailored for Appalachia. The response was a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and cautious optimism. Some residents worried the pods might bring outsiders or disrupt their way of life. Others worried about affordability and ongoing support. Earth-Mars responded by launching a comprehensive education campaign, providing workshops, and offering transparent cost structures. Local residents were trained as Earth-Mars fellows, becoming ambassadors and technicians, bridging technology and tradition. One standout figure was Ruth, a retired schoolteacher with deep roots in the community, who became an enthusiastic advocate and mentor. She worked tirelessly to help neighbors understand and embrace the new technology, emphasizing how it could support health, education, and economic opportunity. The life pods themselves proved resilient against the Appalachian climate, equipped with adaptive insulation and smart ventilation to handle cold winters and humid summers. Integrated sensors monitored air and water quality, crucial in areas affected by mining pollution. The AI assistants helped residents manage energy use, health reminders, and emergency alerts, providing peace of mind in remote areas. Over the ensuing months, the impact began to show. Families reported lower utility bills and improved indoor air quality. Students used the pod's augmented reality tools for homework and vocational training. Small businesses flourished, leveraging LifePod connectivity to reach wider markets. Community gardens and cooperative workshops sprouted around pod clusters, fostering social ties and shared purpose. Yet challenges remained. Broadband access was inconsistent, requiring Earth-Mars to invest in satellite internet and mesh networks. Some older residents struggled with digital literacy, prompting ongoing support programs. Environmental concerns about sustainable forestry and land management required partnerships with conservation groups. Throughout, Emily emphasized the importance of patience and adaptation, knowing that technology alone could not solve deep-rooted issues without sustained community engagement. The Appalachian pilot became a model for integrating cutting-edge technology with respect for place and people, earning praise from policymakers and social innovators alike. It sparked national conversations about rural revitalization and equitable tech deployment. Meanwhile, back in urban centers, Earth-Mars continued advancing LifePod innovations. A breakthrough came with the integration of biometric health monitoring that could detect early signs of chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease, common in many underserved populations. In Detroit, this technology was paired with community health workers who used LifePod data to provide personalized care and preventive services. Stories emerged of lives saved and well-being improved, reinforcing the profound potential of human-centered tech. The growing scale of Earth-Mars initiatives required expanding partnerships with government agencies, nonprofits, and private sector players. Emily spearheaded collaborations to secure funding, align policies, and ensure that LifePods complemented broader social services and infrastructure investments. This systems-level thinking elevated Earth-Mars from a technology company to a key player in national resilience and equity efforts. Public opinion polls showed increasing support for LifePods and similar innovations, but also highlighted ongoing concerns about privacy, affordability, and cultural impact. Emily prioritized transparency and dialogue, hosting town halls and leveraging social media to engage diverse audiences. She often reflected on the delicate balance of pushing boundaries while honoring human values. In her personal life, Emily found strength in connections nurtured over years of work. Regular visits to Ridgeway and Detroit reminded her of the roots and relationships that sustained her. Maya and Sonia's successes in community leadership fueled her optimism. Her partnership with her longtime friend and colleague, Marcus, provided a grounding presence amid the whirlwind. As Earth-Mars approached its 5-year milestone since the LifePod launch, Emily convened a global summit of stakeholders, residents, engineers, ethicists, policymakers, and activists, to assess progress and chart the future. The event was a vibrant exchange of ideas, challenges, and aspirations. Panels discussed the integration of life pods with emerging technologies like quantum computing, advanced materials, and bioengineering. Workshops explored cultural adaptation strategies and participatory governance models. The summit underscored the dynamic nature of the movement, driven by shared commitment and innovation. In a keynote address, Emily spoke candidly about the journey. She acknowledged setbacks and failures alongside successes, emphasizing the importance of resilience and learning. Technology is a tool, she said. But it is our humanity, our empathy, creativity, and courage, that will determine our future. The summit concluded with a renewed pledge to deepen inclusivity, sustainability, and ethical stewardship. As the sun set over the city skyline, Emily felt a profound sense of hope. The path ahead was complex and uncertain, but she was confident that with community at the center, technology could continue to unlock new possibilities for a better life. The story of Earth-Mars had come a long way from its origins on Mars, evolving into a movement that redefined what it meant to build home, community, and future here on Earth. Emily looked forward to the next chapters, knowing that the greatest innovations were yet to come, born from the enduring human spirit that propelled the journey from Mars to Main Street. The momentum behind LifePods was unmistakable as Earth-Mars prepared to introduce the technology into Native American reservations, a unique frontier where history, culture, and sovereignty intertwined in complex ways. Emily Carter and her team approached this new chapter with deep respect and careful listening, aware that any technology introduced had to honor traditions, address specific community needs, and support self-determination rather than impose external agendas. Early conversations with tribal leaders emphasized the importance of partnership and cultural preservation. The Navajo Nation, with its vast lands and pressing infrastructure challenges, became a focal point. Emily traveled to Window Rock, Arizona, to meet with council members, elders, and community members. These dialogues revealed profound concerns: lack of reliable electricity and water, healthcare disparities, and a desire to sustain cultural practices in the face of modernization. LifePods had to be adapted thoughtfully. The design team collaborated closely with Navajo artisans and cultural advisors to incorporate traditional symbols and materials into pod exteriors and interiors, blending modern sustainability with ancestral aesthetics. The AI interfaces were programmed to support Navajo language options and storytelling formats, allowing residents to connect with technology through familiar cultural frames. Renewable energy systems were customized to leverage solar and wind resources abundant in the Southwest, while also incorporating water harvesting techniques aligned with local environmental knowledge. Crucially, the project prioritized training and empowering community members to manage and maintain LifePods, ensuring economic benefits remained local. At a ceremonial unveiling of the first LifePod cluster in Tuba City, tribal elders blessed the new homes, weaving spiritual significance into the launch. The event was both celebratory and solemn, recognizing the weight of history alongside the promise of future opportunity. Residents expressed cautious hope, balancing excitement with wariness born from decades of broken promises by external entities. In the weeks that followed, the LifePods demonstrated tangible benefits. Families reported improved indoor air quality, critical in areas with uranium contamination from past mining. The health monitoring AI helped identify issues like dehydration and diabetes flare-ups, connecting residents to remote healthcare providers. Education pods offered immersive learning experiences in Navajo language and culture, fostering intergenerational knowledge transfer. However, challenges emerged. Internet connectivity was uneven, requiring Earth-Mars to deploy satellite-based systems and mobile hotspots. Some elders initially resisted interacting with AI, preferring traditional communication methods. Earth-Mars responded with patient community education programs and hybrid approaches blending tech and tradition. The project became a case study in culturally informed technology deployment, garnering attention from indigenous leaders worldwide. At the same time, the ethical dimensions of data sovereignty took center stage. The Navajo Nation insisted that data collected within LifePods remained under tribal control, not subject to external surveillance or exploitation. This stance influenced Earth-Mars's broader data governance policies, leading to the development of decentralized data ownership frameworks that empowered users everywhere. As the program matured, stories of transformation multiplied. A young Navajo nurse used LifePod data to monitor elders remotely, improving health outcomes. Artists integrated augmented reality storytelling with cultural heritage sites accessible through LifePods, attracting tourism and economic development. Youth programs leveraged LifePods for coding and entrepreneurship education, bridging tradition and innovation. Emily found herself deeply moved by the resilience and wisdom of the communities she served. She recognized that technology was not a panacea but a tool that could amplify existing strengths when wielded respectfully. The experience also reinforced her commitment to collaborative leadership, ongoing dialogue, and humility. Beyond the Navajo Nation, Earth-Mars expanded efforts to other tribal lands, adapting LifePods to diverse geographies and cultures. In Alaska, the pods were engineered to withstand extreme cold and support subsistence lifestyles. In the Great Plains, designs honored communal living traditions and supported agricultural practices. Each project was a partnership shaped by listening, respect, and shared vision. These initiatives resonated beyond reservations, contributing to national conversations about reparative justice, indigenous sovereignty, and sustainable development. Emily's leadership attracted invitations to speak at conferences and legislative hearings, where she advocated for policies that recognized indigenous rights in technology deployment and climate resilience. She emphasized that inclusion was not only ethical but essential for innovation that served all people. Meanwhile, advances in LifePod technology continued. New features included adaptive mental health support powered by AI trained in culturally sensitive counseling methods, and expanded integration with smart grids and community energy systems that enhanced resilience during extreme weather events. Earth-Mars also piloted LifePods designed for disaster relief and refugee housing, extending the mission to global humanitarian challenges. As Earth-Mars grew, Emily nurtured a culture of learning and reflection within her team. She encouraged staff to engage with communities regularly, fostering empathy and cultural competence. Training programs emphasized ethics, equity, and sustainability alongside technical skills. This holistic approach strengthened Earth-Mars's impact and reputation. On a personal level, Emily found balance through close connections with her family, friends, and mentors. The ongoing support network helped her navigate the complexities of leadership and the emotional weight of the work. She also embraced creative outlets. Writing, hiking, and community storytelling events that replenished her spirit. The journey from Mars to Main Street, once a visionary concept, now felt deeply rooted in the lived experiences of diverse American communities. Emily often reflected on how Elon Musk's initial dream of colonizing another planet had sparked a movement that ultimately transformed life on Earth in profound ways. The LifePods embodied not just technological innovation, but a new way of relating to each other and the planet. As she prepared for the next phase of Earth-Mars's mission, scaling LifePods globally while deepening community partnerships, Emily remained grounded in core principles: respect, inclusion, and shared stewardship. The future, she believed, depended on technology that amplified humanity's best qualities and honored its deepest roots. The glowing LifePods across deserts, mountains, cities, and reservations stood as living symbols of this hope and possibility. And so, the story continued, an ongoing journey shaped by courage, connection, and the enduring quest to build a better world for all. As Earth-Mars prepared to bring LifePods to post-industrial cities grappling with economic decline and population loss, Emily Carter and her team faced a different set of challenges and opportunities. Cities like Cleveland, Ohio, and Buffalo, New York, carried histories of manufacturing prowess but were marked by urban decay, unemployment, and a population struggling to adapt to a shifting economy. For these communities, LifePods represented not only new housing options but also a potential catalyst for broader regeneration. The first step involved deep engagement with city officials, community organizers, and residents to understand their needs and aspirations. In Cleveland's Buckeye neighborhood, a once thriving working-class area now dotted with vacant lots and abandoned buildings, Earth Mars held listening sessions in churches, community centers, and local schools. Residents expressed a longing for stability, safety, and opportunity, tempered by skepticism born from decades of broken promises and failed development projects. To build trust, Earth Mars prioritized transparency and co-creation, inviting residents to participate in design workshops and pilot program planning. The life pods deployed in Buckeye featured modular designs that could be customized to fit existing lots, allowing families to reclaim spaces once lost to blight. Solar panels and green roofs helped reduce energy costs while restoring urban ecosystems. Inside, the pods offered flexible living spaces equipped with smart appliances, health monitoring, and AI tutors to support lifelong learning. Earth Mars also partnered with local nonprofits to integrate job training programs focused on advanced manufacturing, renewable energy, and digital skills, preparing residents to participate in the new economy. One resident, Marcus, a former factory worker laid off during the region's industrial decline, became an enthusiastic advocate. Through Earth Mars's training programs, Marcus gained skills in LifePod maintenance and installation, eventually leading a local crew. His story became emblematic of the transformative potential when technology aligned with economic inclusion. LifePods also became community hubs, with shared spaces for gatherings, childcare, and wellness activities. These hubs helped rebuild social capital frayed by years of economic hardship. Local artists contributed murals and performances celebrating neighborhood heritage, blending culture with innovation. In Buffalo, Earth Mars worked with city planners to integrate LifePods into broader redevelopment strategies, emphasizing connectivity and accessibility. Transit-oriented designs ensured pods were close to public transportation, jobs, and services. Partnerships with healthcare providers expanded telemedicine services through the pods, addressing disparities in access. The combination of technology and community engagement led to tangible improvements. Crime rates in pilot neighborhoods decreased as residents took pride in revitalized spaces and social cohesion grew. Students using LifePod's educational tools showed gains in performance and engagement. Families reported better health outcomes aided by environmental sensors and AI alerts. Despite successes, challenges persisted. Some residents feared gentrification and displacement as neighborhoods became more attractive to investors. Earth Mars collaborated with local governments to support affordable housing policies and tenant protections, striving to ensure benefits reached original community members. Technical issues with aging infrastructure and intermittent connectivity required ongoing attention and investment. Throughout this process, Emily emphasized the need to view technology as one component of holistic community development. She advocated for policies addressing education, healthcare, infrastructure, and social services alongside technological innovation. This comprehensive vision resonated with many stakeholders, elevating Earth Mars's role from a technology provider to a partner in urban renewal. Media coverage of LifePod neighborhoods highlighted stories of hope and resilience, inspiring other cities to explore similar initiatives. At a national forum on post-industrial revitalization, Emily shared lessons learned, stressing the importance of trust building, cultural sensitivity, and economic inclusion. She called for collaborative frameworks that empowered residents to shape their futures. As LifePods gained recognition, Earth Mars expanded research partnerships with universities and think tanks to measure long-term impacts on economic mobility, health, and social cohesion. Early findings underscored the promise of integrated approaches combining technology and community agency. Meanwhile, Earth Mars innovated further, piloting LifePod variants with advanced modularity, allowing rapid assembly and customization to diverse urban contexts. These prototypes featured improved AI companions capable of personalized coaching in job skills, mental health, and community engagement. Emily saw these developments as key to scaling the mission sustainably and equitably. On the personal front, Emily found her own leadership evolving. Years of navigating complex projects and relationships had deepened her empathy, patience, and resolve. She mentored emerging leaders within Earth Mars, fostering a culture valuing humility, curiosity, and shared purpose. Her partnership with Marcus and other community leaders enriched her understanding of lived realities, reinforcing the importance of grounding innovation in human experience. The journey from Mars colonization to transforming America's neighborhoods had become a testament to collaboration across sectors, cultures, and generations. The glowing life pods scattered across post-industrial landscapes stood as beacons of possibility, illuminating pathways from hardship to renewal. As Emily prepared to present Earth-Mars's urban revitalization strategy to national policymakers, she reflected on the intricate dance between technology and society. The future was not predetermined but co-created through dialogue, respect, and courage. The story of Earth, Mars and life pods was far from finished, yet its chapters already demonstrated the power of vision married to action, and technology imbued with humanity. With life pods successfully deployed in diverse American settings, from rural Appalachia and Native American reservations to post-industrial cities, Earth-Mars set its sights on one of the most complex and fast-evolving landscapes, suburban America. Suburbs had long been seen as the quintessential American dream, yet in recent years they faced their own set of challenges: aging infrastructure, environmental pressures, increasing economic disparity, and shifting demographics. Emily Carter recognized that life pods could offer a transformative solution, bridging the gap between urban innovation and suburban lifestyle while addressing sustainability and inclusivity. The pilot project launched in a mid-sized suburb outside Atlanta, Georgia, chosen for its representative mix of demographics, school systems, and environmental concerns such as urban sprawl and heat islands. Emily and her team engaged with homeowner associations, school boards, local government, and community groups to design life pods that respected suburban aesthetics but integrated cutting-edge technology. The pods featured energy-efficient designs blending with neighborhood styles, with smart landscaping to reduce water use and support native flora. Inside, AI assistants helped families manage everything from energy consumption to homework schedules, health checkups, and community alerts. To address concerns about privacy and control, Earth-Mars developed customizable data sharing settings, empowering residents to decide what information they shared and with whom. The initiative also focused on enhancing social connectedness, often a challenge in sprawling suburban environments. Life pods included communal gardens, makerspaces, and digital platforms that encouraged neighbor interaction and collaboration on local projects. A standout story came from the Martinez family, recent transplants from a nearby city seeking a greener, safer environment for their children. The life pods' educational tools helped their daughter excel in STEM subjects, while the pod's health monitoring system alerted them early to a potentially serious allergy reaction, preventing a hospital visit. The Martinez family became vocal advocates for life pods, sharing their experience through local media and neighborhood meetings. Another important facet was supporting aging suburban populations who wished to age in place with dignity and independence. Life pods incorporated accessibility features and AI companions trained to detect falls, monitor medication adherence, and provide reminders. Partnerships with local healthcare providers enabled seamless telehealth consultations, reducing isolation and improving quality of life for seniors. Earth-Mars also collaborated with schools to develop after-school programs using LifePod technology, promoting digital literacy and creative skills among youth. These programs helped bridge generational divides and prepared the next generation to engage thoughtfully with technology. However, challenges arose. Some residents were wary of new technologies, concerned about cost, complexity, or changes to neighborhood character. Earth-Mars responded with extensive outreach, demonstration events, and flexible financing options including subsidies and community investment programs. Open forums allowed residents to voice concerns and shape program adaptations, reinforcing a sense of ownership. Environmental considerations remained central. Life pods employed advanced energy management systems to reduce carbon footprints and mitigate suburban heat islands. Rainwater capture and greywater recycling supported sustainable water use, while electric vehicle charging stations encouraged cleaner transportation. In a significant milestone, the Suburban Life Pods project received a sustainability award from a major environmental nonprofit, highlighting the potential of tech-enabled communities to address climate challenges. Emily's team also explored how LifePods could support remote work trends reshaping suburban life. Flexible home office spaces with robust connectivity and privacy features attracted professionals balancing career and family. LifePods became nodes in broader networks of co-working and social hubs, fostering innovation beyond city centers. Media coverage captured the transformative impact on families, seniors, and communities. Local leaders expressed optimism that LifePods could reverse trends of suburban decline and isolation by fostering vibrant, connected, and resilient neighborhoods. At a national conference on smart suburbs, Emily presented findings emphasizing community-driven design, cultural sensitivity, and sustainability as keys to success. She urged policymakers to support integrated approaches combining technology, infrastructure, and social services. As Earth-Mars prepared to scale suburban LifePods nationwide, Emily reflected on the project's lessons. She recognized the diversity of American experiences and the importance of tailoring solutions accordingly. The suburban pilot demonstrated that technology, when combined with listening and partnership, could enhance quality of life without erasing identity. On a personal note, Emily found renewed joy in visiting pilot neighborhoods, hearing stories of everyday transformations that made abstract concepts tangible. She stayed connected with families like the Martinezes and seniors who felt more secure and valued thanks to LifePods. These human connections fueled her commitment and vision. The journey from Mars colonization to suburban renewal revealed the profound interplay between innovation and community. LifePods were no longer just futuristic shelters, they had become living ecosystems reflecting the hopes, challenges, and resilience of Americans across landscapes. Emily looked ahead, knowing the next phases would bring new complexities and opportunities, but confident that grounding technology in humanity remained the key. As the sun set over tree-lined streets dotted with softly glowing LifePods, she felt the quiet satisfaction of a mission unfolding, one that redefined what it meant to build home, belonging, and future in the 21st century. The momentum of LifePods had reached a point where Earth-Mars could no longer consider its mission purely domestic. Emily Carter and her team recognized the immense global potential for this technology to address challenges in diverse cultures and environments worldwide. Yet international expansion demanded more than mere technological transfer, it required deep cultural intelligence, sensitivity to geopolitical dynamics, and sustainable partnerships rooted in respect and mutual benefit. The first international pilot was launched in Mexico City, a sprawling megacity grappling with severe pollution, overcrowding, and economic disparity. Mexico's unique blend of indigenous heritage and modern urban life provided a complex canvas for LifePods to demonstrate adaptability and inclusivity. Earth-Mars partnered with local universities, NGOs, and government agencies to co-create LifePod designs that responded to Mexican climate realities, social needs, and cultural values. Pods incorporated vibrant artistic motifs inspired by indigenous and mestizo traditions, and AI companions were programmed in Spanish and Nahuatl languages to foster accessibility and cultural pride. Beyond aesthetics, LifePods addressed pressing issues such as air pollution by integrating advanced filtration systems and urban gardens that contributed to local food security and environmental education. Community health initiatives linked LifePods to local clinics, enhancing preventative care and telemedicine for underserved populations. Throughout the pilot, Earth-Mars prioritized community participation. Residents were trained as technicians and program ambassadors, creating jobs and fostering ownership. Storytelling workshops allowed residents to share their experiences, blending oral traditions with modern digital platforms, and building bridges between generations. Success stories abounded. Rosa, a single mother and school teacher, described how LifePods helped her manage work and childcare while providing her children safe learning spaces with immersive educational content. Small business owners used LifePods' integrated digital commerce tools to expand reach and connect with customers beyond traditional markets. Still, challenges tested the project's resilience. Political instability and bureaucratic hurdles slowed some initiatives. Internet access remained patchy in certain neighborhoods, requiring Earth-Mars to innovate with mobile satellite hubs and offline content delivery. Moreover, concerns about data privacy and surveillance echoed globally, prompting Earth-Mars to strengthen encryption and community control over information. Emily engaged in ongoing dialogue with local leaders and international experts, advocating for ethical frameworks that protected human rights and cultural sovereignty. The Mexico City pilot became a model inspiring other cities in Latin America and beyond to explore life pods as a tool for equitable urban transformation. Encouraged by this success, Earth-Mars launched parallel projects in Kenya's rapidly growing urban centers, blending life pods with initiatives to improve water access, renewable energy, and educational equity. In Nairobi, life pods incorporated solar-powered water purification and mobile health clinics, addressing urgent needs amid rapid urbanization. Collaborations with local tech hubs nurtured innovation ecosystems, empowering young entrepreneurs to develop complementary technologies tailored to African contexts. Across continents, life pods adapted and evolved, reflecting the richness and diversity of human experience. The global expansion brought new leadership challenges for Emily, who balanced strategic vision with cultural humility. She built diverse teams including local experts, sociologists, and ethicists to guide project design and implementation. Regular cross-cultural exchanges and feedback loops became institutionalized, ensuring projects remained responsive and inclusive. Media interest in Earth-Mars grew internationally. Documentaries, podcasts, and virtual reality experiences brought LifePod stories to global audiences, sparking debates about technology's role in social justice, climate resilience, and cultural preservation. Emily found herself at the intersection of innovation and diplomacy, navigating complex ethical questions while championing hope and possibility. As Earth-Mars prepared to convene its first global summit on technology for inclusive development, Emily reflected on how far the mission had come, from a Mars colonization vision to a worldwide movement transforming lives. She acknowledged that challenges remained enormous and that technology alone could not solve deep-rooted inequalities and environmental crises. Yet she remained convinced that when developed and deployed with respect, empathy, and partnership, innovations like LifePods could be powerful tools for positive change. On a personal level, Emily treasured the relationships forged across borders. She exchanged letters and video calls with community leaders from Nairobi to Mexico City, learning from their wisdom and sharing Earth-Mars's evolving vision. These connections enriched her leadership and sustained her optimism in the face of global complexity. The story of LifePods had become a testament to the power of human connection and shared responsibility in shaping a more just and sustainable future. As the Earth-Mars Global Summit approached, Emily prepared to bring together voices from around the world, residents, experts, policymakers, and technologists. To celebrate achievements, confront challenges, and chart paths forward. The glowing LifePods dotted not only American landscapes but also cities and villages across continents, symbolizing a new chapter in humanity's journey. From Mars to Main Street and beyond, the mission to transform daily life continued, fueled by courage, collaboration, and hope for a better tomorrow. As Earth-Mars's global summit convened, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation and reflection. Delegates from every continent gathered virtually and in person, representing communities transformed by LifePods, experts from diverse fields, and visionary leaders committed to leveraging technology for inclusive progress. Emily Carter opened the summit by posing the question that had driven her journey from Mars colonization to earthly innovation: how can technology empower humanity without erasing the essence of our shared humanity? The sessions unfolded with a blend of storytelling, data sharing, and candid dialogue. Residents from Cleveland shared how LifePods had rekindled neighborhood pride. A teacher from Nairobi described how LifePods enabled her students to learn despite resource constraints. A healthcare worker in Mexico City explained the life-saving impact of telemedicine integrated into LifePods. These narratives underscored the deeply human outcomes behind technical achievements. Panel discussions explored challenges around privacy, equity, and sustainability. Experts debated ethical frameworks for AI and data governance, emphasizing transparency and community control. Strategies for financing large-scale deployments in underserved areas were examined, with proposals for public-private partnerships and impact investing. Throughout, the summit emphasized that technology's promise hinged on partnership, between developers and users, policymakers and citizens, science and culture. In her keynote, Emily highlighted Earth-Mars's core lessons: technology must be adaptive, inclusive, and grounded in listening to those it serves. She reflected on the evolution from her early days, driven by dreams of Mars, to embracing the complexity and beauty of Earth's diverse communities. Emily shared a personal story about Marcus from Cleveland, whose transformation from displaced worker to LifePod technician symbolized the power of opportunity. She acknowledged setbacks and hard truths, the fears, missteps, and resistance encountered, but emphasized that perseverance, humility, and empathy had guided progress. The summit concluded with a call to action, to scale LifePods thoughtfully, ensuring no community was left behind, to innovate responsibly with ethical foresight, and to foster global collaboration for shared prosperity. Emily announced Earth-Mars's commitment to open-source LifePod technologies and support networks to empower local innovation worldwide. Outside the summit halls, LifePods continued to glow softly across cities, suburbs, and rural areas, their lights flickering like beacons of hope and possibility. The mission that began with a question, "What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side?" had evolved into a testament to resilience, love, and the transformative power of community. Emily's journey illuminated a profound truth: technology alone cannot build futures. It is the hearts and hands of people, united in purpose and compassion, that create lasting change. LifePods embodied more than innovation, they symbolized humanity's capacity to adapt, care, and dream together. As the summit ended, Emily stood outside under a starry sky, feeling the weight and wonder of the path traveled. She whispered to herself, "Life is full of surprises, but love will always lead the way." The story of Earth-Mars was far from over, but its chapters had already sparked new beginnings, across main streets and distant continents, in the lives of individuals and the pulse of communities. This was just the start of a new era where technology and humanity coalesced to transform daily life in ways once only imagined among the stars. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?